Chapter 1400. How rich was Tang Ao's battle experience? Therefore, Tang Ao could naturally tell that Kuang Long's shocking attack was actually a feint. Therefore, under Tang Ao's full strength, Kuang Long would not dare, nor would he be willing, to exchange blows with a fifth-tier body refining realm warrior. Therefore, when Tang Ao's long spear swept over, Kuang Long gritted his teeth and actually took a step back. This scene was out of everyone's expectations. Not everyone was like Tang Ao, able to tell that Kuang Long's attack was just a feint. Therefore, when they saw Kuang Long being forced back by Tang Ao with a single move, everyone was shocked. Kuang Long's battle results in the subduing dragon market were obvious to all. As long as Kuang Long attacked, it was basically in the bag. This time, Kuang Long was facing Tang Ao, whose cultivation level was 2 tiers lower than his. There was no suspense in such a battle. Everyone was still wondering how long Tang Ao could last against Kuang Long, but Kuang Long had actually been forced back by Tang Ao. This puzzled everyone. Could it be that Tang Ao was hiding his cultivation level? Or was it that Tang Ao's life soul was extraordinary? What kind of extraordinary life soul was it? But when everyone looked closely, they realized that although Tang Ao's life soul was special, it was only a 9th-tier life soul. As for Tang Ao's cultivation level, it had not changed at all at the 5th tier of the body refining realm. Therefore, everyone could only watch this battle with puzzlement. In the battle, after Tang Ao forced Kuang Long back with a surprise attack, Tang Ao did not give Kuang Long a chance to catch his breath. The long spear in his hand danced like a dragon snake, sweeping through the sky. Tang Ao's series of attacks forced Kuang Long to defend passively. He had no chance to attack at all. This made Kuang Long very depressed. Kuang Long felt like his lungs were about to explode. When dealing with a 5th-tier body refining realm martial artist like Tang Ao, he, Mad Dragon, was actually being suppressed by the other party. If word of this got out, he, Mad Dragon, would really not be able to survive in the subduing dragon market anymore. However, although Mad Dragon wanted to turn the tide, Tang Ao didn't give him the chance to do so. This caused Mad Dragon's expression to turn increasingly ugly. Not long after, his face turned the color of a pig's liver. However, Tang Ao still had no intention of holding back. At this moment, the 100 battle spear soul in Tang Ao's hands was as flexible as a finger. In addition to the support of Tang Ao's thick essence energy, the 100 battle spear soul had also become abnormally sharp. Even though the Mad Dragon kept dodging, the 100 battle soul spear still managed to leave quite a few wounds on its body. The surrounding crowd was already stunned. At this moment there was only one thought in many people's minds. Was this really a martial artist at the 5th level of the body refining realm? Looks like people who dare to stir up trouble in the subduing dragon market all have some capabilities. Although this Tang Ao's cultivation level is average, his martial techniques and life soul usage are very skilled. His combat experience is also completely not inferior to Mad Dragon. Hence, after Mad Dragon lost the upper hand, he has been suppressed by Tang Ao. I didn't think that Mad Dragon would stumble again this time. Meeting Ho Tianxi the last time was enough to pent up his anger. But that Ho Tianxi was at least a 6th-tier body refining realm martial artist. Compared to him, Mad Dragon, he was just 1 level lower in cultivation. But now, this Tang Ao is only at the 5th level of the body refining realm. If he loses to Tang Ao, this Mad Dragon will probably have no face to survive in the subduing dragon market anymore. Chapter 1401. Roar! Mad Dragon felt like he was about to die from being suppressed by Tang Ao all this time. Hence, Mad Dragon roared and prepared to take Tang Ao's attack head-on. At the same time, he would withstand Tang Ao's attack and kill Tang Ao on the spot. Hence, when Tang Ao thrust his spear forward like a dragon, Mad Dragon abruptly withdrew his body to avoid being hit in the vitals. At the same time, the 3-foot-long Qingfeng sword in his hand slashed at Tang Ao's neck like a gale sweeping away fallen leaves. This attack was powerful and heavy. Not to mention the neck, even an iron rod would be chopped in half by the berserk dragon. Naturally, Tang Ao could also see the intention of Mad Dragon's move. Mad Dragon was ready to fight back. Moreover, Mad Dragon did not show any mercy to himself even though he hated others. If Mad Dragon were to take this attack head-on, a few of his ribs would definitely be broken. However, Tang Ao had to admit that Mad Dragon had grasped the perfect timing this time. This was because at the same time that Tang Ao broke Mad Dragon's ribs, Mad Dragon's swift sword was probably already at his neck. According to Mad Dragon's thinking, Tang Ao would definitely not dare to take this attack head-on. Hence, even if he could not kill Tang Ao, he could still turn the situation around. However, Mad Dragon soon realized that he was overthinking. This was because before his swift sword could get close to Tang Ao, 4 pitch-black chains suddenly appeared in the void. These 4 chains had a strong aura of the netherworld, as if they came from hell. Moreover, the moment the 4 chains appeared, they happened to trap Mad Dragon's swift sword. Following that, Tang Ao's 100 battle spear soul pierced through Mad Dragon's lower abdomen. Tang Ao's arm shook, and the sound of bones breaking could be heard. Seeing that Mad Dragon was injured, Evil Tiger immediately took out a pair of mace and smashed it at Tang Ao. Although Tang Ao had been suppressing Mad Dragon in the battle earlier, such a fast-paced battle had also consumed a lot of Tang Ao's energy. Therefore, when Evil Tiger came to help, Tang Ao could only sigh in his heart. The 100 battles spear soul was still somewhat weak. Although Tang Ao's attack had managed to heavily injure Mad Dragon had managed to avoid a fatal blow. Thus, Tang Ao had failed to kill Mad Dragon. He had only managed to heavily injure Mad Dragon. Due to Vicious Tiger's timely rescue, Tang Ao did not have the opportunity to stab him. Tang Ao suddenly pulled out the 100 battle spear soul that was pierced into Mad Dragon's body, and then stabbed it at Evil Tiger's mace, blocking Evil Tiger's mace. After blocking Vicious Tiger's attack, Tang Ao did not continue fighting with Vicious Tiger. Instead, he abruptly retreated, putting some distance between him and Vicious Tiger. Vicious Tiger didn't dare to chase after Tang Ao because Quang Long's aura was extremely weak and he was spitting out mouthfuls of blood. Although Tang Ao's spear had not taken Quang Long's life, Quang Long's injuries were not light. If he did not find a place to treat Quang Long's injuries, Quang Long would most likely die here today. Humph. Kid, the mountains never change and the rivers never stop flowing. This time, we brothers admit defeat. Next time, wash your neck clean and wait for us brothers to send you on your way. After saying this, Vicious Tiger did not dare to stay any longer. He picked up Quang Long and ran away. Of course, the reason why Vicious Tiger ran away was not because he was afraid of Tang Ao. Just now, Tang Ao and Quang Long fought. In the end, because Quang Long was careless, Quang Long was seriously injured by Tang Ao. Even so, Tang Ao must have consumed a lot of energy. Therefore, if Vicious Tiger stayed and fought with Tang Ao now, Vicious Tiger was 80% sure that he could kill Tang Ao here. However, Vicious Tiger did not have the guts to do so. Usually, he and Quang Long were used to being arrogant here. God knows how many people they had offended. Now that Quang Long was seriously injured, who knew how many people were thinking about the two of them? Therefore, Vicious Tiger immediately left with Quang Long after leaving behind some ruthless word. As for Tang Ao, as long as Quang Long recovered from his injuries, he could kill him at any time. The next time he met Tang Ao, Vicious Tiger would not fight with Tang Ao one-on-one. Instead, the two of them would join forces and quickly kill Tang Ao. When Vicious Tiger left with Quang Long, there were indeed several martial artists following them in the dark. Chapter 1402. In the Hidden Dragon Crypts, martial artists often faced life and death decisions. Therefore, the martial artists in the hidden dragon crypts were stronger than the martial artists in other places. Because in the hidden dragon crypts, there could be a battle at any time, so their martial skills were more skilled, their primordial chi was more vigorous, and their life souls were more flexible. And the higher the cultivation, the more obvious the gap. Therefore, outside the hidden dragon crypts, there were many cases of low-level martial artists killing high-level martial artists. But in the hidden dragon crypts, this kind of thing happened very rarely. Because those martial artists who passed themselves off as pearls had long been eliminated in the process of growth. Only those martial artists who had true perseverance and perseverance could continue to climb up. Simply put, there were very few martial artists in the hidden dragon crypts who used elixirs to increase their cultivation. Although Tang Ao was also very dependent on the essence cultivating elixir for cultivation, whether it was in his previous life or this life, Tang Ao had walked very far on the martial path. Therefore, when Tang Ao used the essence cultivating elixir to increase his martial path cultivation, there would not be the problem of his realm being unstable. This was because Tang Ao's current cultivation had fallen so much because his spiritual sea and soul sea were shattered, and Tang Ao's original realm had long surpassed the level of the Flying Star continent. At the entrance of the Rosy Cloud Elixir Pavilion, Tang Ao and Quang Long had already left, but there were still martial artists who came here from time to talk about the battle between Tang Ao and Quang Long not long ago. While everyone was talking about the battle between Tang Ao and Quang Long, a rhythmic and brisk sound of horse hooves could be heard. In mortal countries, horses were the most commonly used and the most common means of transportation. But at the level of martial artists, the mounts were basically demon beasts. Now, although everyone heard the sound of horse hooves, when they turned their heads to look, what they saw was not a horse, or rather, not an ordinary horse. Although Tang Ao had disappeared in front of everyone just now, Tang Ao did not leave this place. After taking Situ Qianqian in a circle, Tang Ao returned here again. Because Tang Ao still hadn't found a suitable place to set up a stall, in Tang Ao's opinion, the front of the Rosy Cloud Pill House was very good. But the Rosy Cloud Elixir Pavilion's hospitality, Tang Ao had already experienced it just now. Therefore, Tang Ao knew that if he dared to sell medicinal pills in front of the Rosy Cloud Pellet House, the people who came looking for him wouldn't be the likes of Mad Dragon and Vicious Tiger. Perhaps in the eyes of ordinary people, or even those low-level martial artists, Mad Dragon was already powerful enough. But in the entire Hidden Dragon Crypt, if the strongest martial artists were to be ranked, a small character like Mad Dragon would not even be able to enter the top 100. Although Tang Ao had defeated Mad Dragon, it did not prove that Tang Ao was much stronger than Tang Ao. This was because Mad Dragon's defeat at the hands of Tang Ao could also be said to be a coincidence. Of course, if Tang Ao used all his means, instantly killing Mad Dragon was still not a problem. But this was also because Tang Ao himself was a life-and-death realm martial artist. Although Tang Ao's current strength was less than 1/100th of his peak, if he used all his means to deal with a body refinement realm martial artist, it would be somewhat unfair for Tang Ao to win. But if it really came to that, Tang Ao naturally would not hesitate either. There had never been ifs in the world of martial artists, only consequences and result. Just like when dealing with the Greyford monster not long ago, Tang Ao used the Netherworld Sword Chi without the slightest hesitation. Chapter 1403. Senior Tang Ao, this carriage is really pretty. Beside Tang Ao, Situ Qianqian praised. Girls all liked pretty things. Situ Qianqian's age wasn't an exception. Moreover, from Tang Ao's point of view, this carriage wasn't bad. In front of the carriage were two demonic beasts that even Tang Ao couldn't recognize. They were all 9-star demonic beasts. The so-called 9-star demonic beasts were equivalent to 9th-level body refining realm martial artists. However, these two demonic beasts were used by the carriage's owner to pull the carriage. From this, one could see that the owner's identity wasn't normal. Moreover, these two horses weren't just strong, they were also very handsome. As for the carriage's body, it was made of a very special material. Tang Ao hadn't seen this material before. It looked like wood, but its texture was like jade. It was very special. Most importantly, under Tang Ao's soul remembrance, Tang Ao discovered that the surrounding energy was being attracted by this material and was constantly flowing into the carriage. Tang Ao roughly estimated that the density of the energy in the carriage was probably 10 times that of the outside world. Moreover, Tang Ao discovered a soul remembrance restriction on the carriage. In other words, normal martial artists couldn't use soul remembrance to know the situation in the carriage. Although Tang Ao's soul remembrance could penetrate the carriage, Tang Ao didn't do so because Tang Ao's soul remembrance was still a bit weak. If he forcefully penetrated the restriction, he would be able to see the situation in the carriage, but the people in the carriage would also discover Tang Ao's existence. Moreover, the carriage had already stopped. If there were people in the carriage, they should be getting off by now. Indeed, just as Tang Ao had this thought, the carriage's curtain opened and a 15 or 16-year-old girl peeked her head out and waved at the surrounding guard. These two guards were martial artists at the 9th level of the body refining realm. When they saw the maidservant waving at them, they walked over. Although they were very far away, with Tang Ao's powerful soul remembrance, he could still hear what they were saying. Tang Ao heard the little girl say that the young miss was still sleeping, so he let the two martial artists drive the beast carriage in from the back door of the Rosy Cloud Pill House. One of the martial artists felt that there was no problem, but the other didn't say anything. After hearing the conversation between the three, Tang Ao felt a little strange. It was definitely not early now, but why was the lady in the car still sleeping so early? Furthermore, normally, warriors did not need to sleep. As long as they sat cross-legged and regulated their breathing, they would be able to recover their essence, qi, and spirit. The lady in the car was still sleeping. Could she be an ordinary person? Tang Ao suddenly thought of such a possibility, because if it was an ordinary person, it was not unusual for them to sleep until now. However, Tang Ao found it a bit strange. On the Flying Star continent, the status of ordinary people was extremely low. It was even more so in the Hidden Dragon Crypt, where the law of the jungle was utilized to the extreme. Since this was the case, how could this young miss have such a gorgeous carriage? One had to know that the two horses pulling the carriage were 9-star demon beasts, and the two martial artists driving the carriage were 9th-level body refining realm experts. This kind of treatment was not something an ordinary person could enjoy. Seeing the curtain open, Tang Ao couldn't resist his curiosity and sent his soul remembrance in. Chapter 1404. Who? When Tang Ao was using his soul remembrance to search the beast carriage, the beautiful woman resting in the carriage suddenly woke up. Just now, in her dream, she had clearly felt a very obscure soul remembrance wandering around the carriage, but now that she was searching, that soul remembrance had disappeared, as if it had never existed. Although Shun Luoli didn't discover the existence of Tang Ao's soul remembrance, Shun Luoli was sure that a martial artist had used soul remembrance to spy on her. Shun Luoli was currently only at the 7th level of the body refinement realm. This kind of cultivation wasn't considered strong in the entire Flying Star continent or even in the Hidden Dragon Cave. However, Shun Luoli had a special talent that no one else had. Shun Luoli's perception of soul remembrance was extremely sensitive. Shun Luoli suddenly waking up made Tang Ao a bit surprised. Then, seeing Shun Luoli use soul remembrance to search the surroundings, Tang Ao was extremely surprised. Clearly, Shun Luoli hadn't woken up for no reason. She had probably felt his soul remembrance. However, Tang Ao's soul remembrance was extremely powerful. Even though Tang Ao's cultivation was slightly weaker than Shun Luoli's, it wasn't that easy to be discovered. For example, the two ninth-level body refinement realm martial artists guarding the side of the carriage didn't detect Tang Ao's soul remembrance. There was also the young servant girl at the door of the carriage, who also didn't detect the existence of Tang Ao's soul remembrance. Shen Luoli checked the surroundings and found that she couldn't sense Tang Ao's soul remembrance. She curled her lips and walked out of the carriage. The instant Shen Luoli walked out of the carriage, everyone's eyes instantly focused on Shen Luoli and couldn't move away. Shen Luoli wore a light gold long dress. Her features were picturesque, and her long black hair fell over her shoulders. Her long black hair was tied up in a bun, and there was an exquisite jade hairpin in her hair. Not everyone was like Tang Ao and had a high resistance to beautiful women. Therefore, many martial artists were speechless the moment they saw Shen Luoli. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, many people wouldn't have believed that such a beautiful woman existed in this world. Shen Luoli was already used to being surrounded by people. Every time she went, she would become the center of attention. This sister is so beautiful. Beside Tang Ao, Situ Qianqian couldn't help but exclaim after seeing Shen Luoli. Tang Ao nodded his head. Among the many beauties that Tang Ao had seen, there were quite a few who were beautiful and had a transcendent temperament. However, Tang Ao hadn't seen many people like Shen Luoli who had such a combination of appearance and temperament. Is she Xia Kaiyun? Although Situ Qianqian's tone, Situ Qianqian didn't know this woman, Situ Qianqian didn't know. She's not Big Sister Kaiyun. I don't know who she is either. Situ Qianqian shook her head. She grew up in the dragon subduing cave. If there was such a great beauty in the dragon subduing caves, there was no reason for her not to know. Situ Qianqian shook her head. She grew up in the hidden dragon cave. If there was such a beauty in the hidden dragon cave, there was no reason she wouldn't know her. As Tang Ao and Situ Qianqian were talking, a group of people walked out of the Rosy Cloud Pill House. The leader of this group was a very beautiful young woman. However, under Shen Luoli's radiance, this young woman's beauty was overshadowed. After seeing this young woman, Situ Qianqian immediately said to Tang Ao, "Senior Tang Ao, this is Sister Kaiyun. If we go talk to her about the pill, there won't be any problems." Chapter 1405. Without continuing to stay outside the Rosy Cloud Pill House, Tang Ao brought Situ Qianqian to a street in the middle of the market. Tang Ao had never been to the Crouching Dragon Market before, but this didn't affect Tang Ao's search for a suitable place to sell pills. With Tang Ao's powerful soul remembrance, everything around him was clearly seen by Tang Ao. Therefore, Tang Ao quickly brought Situ Qianqian to an empty space. This empty space was extremely spacious. It seemed to be an abandoned plaza. In the surroundings there were a few fighters selling items. Due to the special location of this place, there was a lot of human traffic. Therefore, business seemed to be doing well. However, as the saying goes, there are always accidents. Therefore, many fighter stalls were filled with people, but there were a few stalls that no one paid any attention to. Moreover, what made Tang Ao speechless was that these stalls, without exception, were all selling pills. Tang Ao didn't know if it was because the roadside stalls in the Crouching Dragon Market often had fake elixirs that people would rather pay a high price to buy elixirs from the pill house than buy these economical and affordable elixirs from the roadside. "Senior Tang Ao, are we really going to sell pills here?" Situ Qianqian clearly saw that pills weren't very popular here. After Situ Qianqian followed Tang Ao here, Situ Qianqian hadn't seen any of the stalls selling pills. Instead, some spirit artifacts were very popular. As long as the price wasn't too terrifying, it was easy to sell. There were also some spirit materials and spirit grasses that were easy to sell. However, no one was interested in pills. Situ Qianqian couldn't understand the reason. "Let's do it here." Tang Ao nodded and brought Situ Qianqian to a corner of the abandoned plaza. Beside Tang Ao there were two other cultivators selling things. The two of them had a variety of things on their stalls. There were some old spirit artifacts, some strange-looking stones, and a lot of different spirit grasses and several ancient books. Tang Ao used a dust removal technique on the empty space between the two of them, sweeping away the dust on the ground. Tang Ao then took out all the pills from his storage ring and laid them out neatly. At the same time, Tang Ao took out an iron plate. Tang Ao spat out sword energy from his fingertips and started carving on the iron plate. The words that Tang Ao had written on the iron plate were very simple: refining elixirs under 6 stars, for sale. Tang Ao had previously thought of building a pill pavilion in Qin Yun Village. However, the flow of people in Qin Yun Village was obviously incomparable to the Crouching Dragon Market, so Tang Ao wanted to make a name for himself here. This way, when he concocted elixirs in Qin Yun Village in the future, people would come to ask for elixirs. Now that someone had come to ask for pills, Tang Ao naturally did not have to worry about cultivation resources. When they saw that Tang Ao was also setting up a stall here, the martial artists on both sides of Tang Ao looked at Tang Ao. When they saw that Tang Ao was only selling elixirs, they shook their heads. In the Subduing Dragon Market, almost all 10 bottles of pills sold at the stalls had problems. Because of this, it was hard to sell the elixirs in the Crouching Dragon Market. If Tang Ao was only here to sell elixirs, the two of them felt that Tang Ao was just wasting his time here. After setting up the stall, Tang Ao and Situ Qianqian waited quietly for customers to come over. However, what Tang Ao did not expect was that even though there were people coming and going, many people turned to look at his elixirs. However, after such a long time, there was not even a single martial artist who came up to ask about his elixirs. On the other hand, the 2 stalls beside Tang Ao still managed to sell a few small items, which made Tang Ao suffer a huge blow. Chapter 1406. Tang Ao shook his head. Tang Ao knew that Situ Qianqian was too naive. If Tang Ao didn't guess wrongly, it must be because there were too many fakes in the dragon submission market, so no one came to buy pills. Just as Tang Ao was pondering, a young man and woman walked over. When the two saw that Tang Ao's stall was full of pills, they looked at Tang Ao strangely. The pills sold at the stalls in the Subduing Dragon Market were basically all problematic. Therefore, most of the martial artists who set up stalls sold all sorts of things, trying to pass off the pills as genuine ones. But for Tang Ao to actually sell pills like this, it was simply too much of a bully. It was obvious that he was selling fake goods, yet he still had a carefree look on his face. The two originally didn't plan on buying pills, but after seeing Tang Ao bully people like this, the young man and young woman started discussing softly. The young man said, "Sister Qiao, I don't know about other pills, but I'm very familiar with the 3-star meditation pill. I saw that his stall was full of pills, so there might be some real pills mixed in." The woman called Sister Qiao nodded after hearing the young man's words. The young man's words were very reasonable. If Tang Ao dared to only sell pills here, it meant that Tang Ao's pills might really have some real pills. She casually glanced and realized that Tang Ao's pills were selling for half the price in the pill pavilion. Therefore, if Tang Ao's stall really had real pills, they would really be profiting if they bought them. But Brother Yun, what if the pills in his stall are all fake? The jade bottle he uses to store pills is a little strange. My soul remembrance can't penetrate it. If his stall is full of fakes, then we won't buy them. Let's go take a look at his meditation pill first. If it doesn't work, we can go to the Rosy Cloud Pill Pavilion to buy it. Moreover, a poison fog canyon appeared in the outskirts of Evergreen Valley. Many pills will quickly increase in price. Let's take a look at his antidote pills. If they are useful, we can buy some. But, seeing that the young man had made up his mind, the girl hesitated for a moment and did not continue to speak. Instead, she accompanied the young man to the side of Tang Ao's stall. Tang Ao had set up his stall here for a long time. It was rare to see someone come over. Of course, Tang Ao's mood was very good. What kind of elixir would you like to buy? Or are you going to refine pills? Now, Tang Ao was not just selling pills here. If there was a warrior who needed to refine pills, Tang Ao could also refine pills on the spot. However, this time, Tang Ao would not refine too many pills here. Because there was no earth-fire array formation, he could only use yuan qi to condense the pill fire here. Although the Crouching Dragon Market was slightly more peaceful than other places, it was not absolutely safe. With the recent Mad Dragon and Vicious Tiger, it meant that there were many people like them in the Crouching Dragon Market. We want meditation pills. Do you have them here? Seeing that Tang Ao was easy to talk to, the young man called Brother Yun let out a sigh of relief. Yu Yun and Mu Qiao had come to Tang Ao's stall to take advantage of him. If Tang Ao had a fiendish look, the two of them would have tactfully left. There had never been a lack of fights in the Crouching Dragon Cave. However, this was not because every warrior liked to fight. The Yu Yun and Mu Qiao in front of Tang Ao were not people who liked to cause trouble. Chapter 1407. Although he was puzzled, Yu Yun didn't dare to be careless. The Tranquil Heart Pill was a 3-star pill, priced at 1 mid-grade vitality cultivation pill. This price was already very fair, because in the major pill houses in the Hidden Dragon Market, the price of a 3-star pill was basically 2 mid-grade vitality cultivation pills. Pills like the Tranquil Heart Pill could be sold for 3 mid-grade vitality cultivation pills most of the time. Therefore, Tang Ao's price was too affordable, so affordable that people felt that there was definitely something wrong with the Tranquil Heart Pill. After receiving the Tranquil Heart Pill, Yu Yun didn't say anything more, but carefully examined the Tranquil Heart Pill in the jade bottle. With just one glance, Yu Yun couldn't control his shock, but very quickly, his heart was filled with ecstasy. Yu Yun didn't dare say anything about other pills. But for the Tranquil Heart Pill, there was really no fake Tranquil Heart Pill in the Hidden Dragon Market that could fool Yu Yun. Therefore, with just one glance, Yu Yun was sure that the Tranquil Heart Pill that Tang Ao handed to him was real. However, Yu Yun quickly reacted. There were 6 Tranquil Heart Pills in a bottle, so it was possible that only the top one was real. The rest of the Tranquil Heart Pills were all fake. Thinking of this, Yu Yun continued to examine the remaining 5 pills. But after examining them, Yu Yun found that these pills were exactly the same as the pills at the top. Yu Yun's heart was blooming with joy. It seemed that there was no problem with his previous judgment. That was, when Tang Ao openly set up a stall to sell pills, there were indeed real pills mixed in. At this moment, Yu Yun secretly regretted not learning how to identify pills. Otherwise, as long as he could find all the genuine pills in this pile, he would definitely be able to make a huge profit. Unfortunately, Yu Yun only knew about the Tranquil Heart Pill. He didn't know much about the other pills. After thinking for a moment, Yu Yun decided not to take the risk. Being able to buy a bottle of Tranquil Heart Pill for the price of a mid-grade vitality cultivation pill was already a big advantage. If he continued to be greedy, he would inevitably suffer a loss. Thinking of this, Yu Yun decisively took out a jade bottle and handed it to Tang Ao. There were 2 mid-grade vitality cultivation pills in the jade bottle. Tang Ao was stunned for a moment before he understood. This person probably wanted 2 bottles of Tranquil Heart Pills, but he wasn't good at expressing his thoughts, so he directly gave him 2 middle-grade essence cultivating pills. Thinking so, Tang Ao grabbed a bottle of Tranquil Heart Pills and handed it to Yu Yun. Seeing the pills Tang Ao handed over, Yu Yun was somewhat speechless. The reason why he gave Tang Ao 2 mid-grade essence augmenting pills was because most of the time, the Tranquil Heart Pill was priced at 2 mid-grade essence augmenting pills. But this time, after the discovery of a peculiar miasma valley in the outskirts of Evergreen Valley, most of the pills took the opportunity to increase their prices. Naturally, the Tranquil Heart pill was one of the many pills that increased their prices. Without much hesitation, Yu Yun took the Tranquil Heart pill from Tang Ao. In Yu Yun's opinion, although there were real pills in Tang Ao's stall, there wouldn't be too many of them. Therefore, this bottle of pills given by Tang Ao was most likely fake. Therefore, Yu Yun still took the bottle of pills. After taking the bottle of pills, Yu Yun thought for a moment before saying to Tang Ao, "Not long ago, a poisonous miasma valley was discovered in the outskirts of Evergreen Valley. If you want to obtain cultivation resources, you can go there. It seems that you don't have to do this kind of thing here." After Yu Yun finished speaking, he left with Mu Qiao, leaving behind a confused Tang Ao looking at their departing figures. Tang Ao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Tang Ao really couldn't understand why Yu Yun, who looked so normal, would speak so incoherently. After Yu Yun walked far away, a middle-aged cultivator beside Tang Ao smiled and said, "Brother's methods are brilliant. This kind of combination of fake and real pills might really make you rich." Chapter 1408. His words caused Tang Ao to not know whether to laugh or cry. He couldn't say or ask. This fellow shouldn't have spoken in the first place. Now that he had hooked Tang Ao's appetite, he ended up saying he couldn't say or ask. Just as he was thinking this, Tang Ao suddenly thought of something. Why were there so few martial artists looking at the pills on the stalls? The reason was very simple. The pills on the stalls definitely had problems. Tang Ao used his soul remembrance to look around. Tang Ao found that the majority of the pills sold here were only a third of the price in the pill pavilion. It was already very affordable. However, when Tang Ao's soul remembrance permeated the jade bottle containing the pills and saw the pills inside, Tang Ao felt like his nose was going crooked from anger. In this abandoned plaza there were about 80 stalls. Almost all of these stalls had at least a few pills on display. But what made Tang Ao angry was that the pills of these fellows were really bad to the point of being ridiculous. It was fine if the quality of the pills was low, but there were even some pills that were completely useless. After seeing this, Tang Ao finally understood why Yu Yun told him not to do this kind of thing. Obviously, Yu Yun also regarded him as a fake medicine seller. After understanding this, Tang Ao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Of all the pills here, only his pills had no problems. Yet, he was still being treated as a fake pill seller. On the other side, after Yu Yun and Mu Qiao bought Tang Ao's pills, they went to the Rosy Cloud Pill Pavilion. Halfway there, Mu Qiao hesitated before asking Yu Yun, "Brother Yun, were those 2 bottles of pills real? Why did you give him 2 middle-grade cultivating essence pills?" This wasn't because Mu Qiao didn't trust Yu Yun, but because Mu Qiao knew that Yu Yun was too kind and easily taken advantage of by others. Indeed, Yu Yun shook his head without thinking. Of those 2 bottles of pills, only the first bottle is real, and its quality is very high. Though I can determine that it's real Tranquil Heart pills, I'll have to ask Senior Sister Han Shui to help me see how high the quality is. As for the second bottle, I didn't even look at it. However, I don't think that person's nature is bad. He must have encountered some difficulties, which is why he came to sell fake pills. After Mu Qiao heard Yu Yun's words, he somewhat angrily said, "Humph, you only know that others have difficulties." Although his mouth said so, Mu Qiao really didn't blame Yu Yun. She and Yu Yun had been together for a long time. She knew that Yu Yun was kind, and she herself was also a kind person. That was why the 2 of them were able to get together. "Sister Qiao, don't be angry. What if this bottle of Tranquil Heart pills is real?" Yu Yun's words were completely to amuse Mu Qiao, because Yu Yun himself knew that having a bottle of Tranquil Heart pills was already a great fortune. If the bottle of Tranquil Heart pills that Tang Ao had casually picked up was real, then Yu Yun wouldn't believe it no matter what. Although Yu Yun was just casually saying it, Mu Qiao's interest was piqued. "Big brother Yun, hurry up and open it. It said that good people are rewarded." What if this bottle of tranquil pills is real? Sister Chiao, don't make trouble. Although his mouth said so, Yu Yun still opened the jade bottle. After opening the jade bottle, Yu Yun was immediately dumbfounded. Yu Yun even suspected that there was something wrong with his eyes, so he sniffed the smell of the pill. Then Yu Yun said in shock, I didn't think that this bottle of tranquil heart pills is real. Chapter 1409. Although pills were good, but common pills were also poisonous. If one were to randomly take a pill when there was nothing to do, then there would definitely be problems. Therefore, this idea was absolutely not feasible. Even if it was a supplement-type pill, who would take a healing-type pill if they were not injured? However, after successfully selling the pill to Yu Yun, Tang Ao felt that it was not completely impossible to sell the pills from the stalls here. Show me your tranquil heart pill. Just as Tang Ao was thinking about how to prove that his pill was genuine, an old man diagonally behind Tang Ao suddenly spoke. This old man was selling spiritual grasses, and in his stall, Tang Ao saw a lot of medicinal powders, spiritual wine, and all kinds of low and medium spiritual grasses. When Tang Ao arrived, he had already noticed this old man. However, he had been dozing off previously. Tang Ao did not expect that although he looked like he was dozing off, he was actually very clear about what was happening around him. After the old man asked to see the pill refined by Tang Ao did not refuse, and casually grabbed a bottle of tranquil heart pill and threw it to him. After Tang Ao threw the pill to the old man was still leaning on a rock with his head covered by his bamboo hat, not moving an inch. Because of this, the jade bottle that Tang Ao threw to the old man naturally broke into pieces. However, Tang Ao's complexion did not change. He did not even think of catching the jade bottle. The jade bottle containing the tranquil heart pill fell freely from the air, and was about to fall to the ground. But at this time, a subtle fluctuation of essence qi spread out, and the jade bottle that Tang Ao threw steadily fell in front of the old man. The old man did not look at Tang Ao, but straightened the bamboo hat covering his head. At this time, Tang Ao also saw the face of the old man. This old man seemed to be very old. His appearance looked even older than his seventh-grade uncle. His eyes were very cloudy. With such a pair of eyes, it would not be easy for him to see things clearly. However, after the old man picked up the pill that Tang Ao threw, he began to carefully examine it. The old man's interest was immediately piqued when he saw the tranquil heart pills in the jade bottle. Following this, he sent his soul remembrance into the pill, and his expression immediately became very interesting. On the dragon-subduing market street stalls, because most of the pills were made by second or even third-rate pill masters, their effects were very poor, so they were called trash pills. However, Tang Ao's bottle had a total of 6 pills, all made in the same furnace. This meant that this bottle was full when it was made. Normally, a full pill wouldn't be bad, so the old man began to carefully examine this bottle of pills. It would have been better if he hadn't looked, but now that he did, the old man started to wonder if his eyes were playing tricks on him. Of course, this was not because Tang Ao's pills were not good. On the contrary, it was because Tang Ao's pills were too good. Of course, this was not because Tang Ao's pill was bad. On the contrary, it was because Tang Ao's pill was too good. As long as one could extract 10% of the medicinal liquid essence, one could refine pills. However, the pills refined at this stage were called low-grade pills. When the medicinal liquid was refined to above 30% and below 70%, the medicinal pills refined would be mid-grade medicinal pills. When the medicinal liquid was refined to 70% to 90%, the pill was a high-grade pill. If the purity of the medicinal liquid was above 90%, then the refined medicinal pill would be the most precious of top-quality medicinal pills. Chapter 1410. This pill was refined by you? After a long time, Xia Baichao finally recovered from his shock. Outsiders only knew that the warriors in the hidden dragon caves were constantly captured from the outside world by the dragon prison castle. There were also disciples from various factions who committed grave mistakes and were also sent to the hidden dragon cave. But Xia Baichao knew that this was not the case. Although Xia Baichao and Tang Ao were both in the hidden dragon caves, they were different from Tang Ao and the others. Xia Baichao could leave the hidden dragon caves at any time. The reason why there were so many warriors imprisoned in the hidden dragon caves was because of Evergreen Valley. Back then, the ancestors of the 8 factions discovered an ancient relic in the Flying Star Cliff. The relic said that there were very terrifying demon beasts in Evergreen Valley. These demon beasts needed the blood of warriors to suppress. Therefore, the warriors imprisoned in the hidden dragon caves had to force out a drop of blood essence every month. After these blood essences were strictly divided according to grade, they would be injected into the 8 ceiling pillars on the periphery of Evergreen Valley. Back then, when they explored the depths of Evergreen Valley, Xia Baichao was also a member of the exploration team. Therefore, Xia Baichao knew more than others. After so many years, the old guy who went with them was almost dead. Therefore, there were fewer and fewer people who saw the terrifying demon beasts in the depths of Evergreen Valley. Fortunately, the descendants of the 8 factions were still sensible and kept replenishing the fresh blood in the hidden dragon caves. "Senior, how is it?" Xia Baichao's long memories were interrupted by Tang Ao, which made him unhappy. But when he thought of how Tang Ao had such high alchemy attainments at such a young age, Xia Baichao immediately felt that he really couldn't put on any airs in front of a junior like Tang Ao. "The pill is not bad. Go to the Alchemist Alliance and get certified. Your pills will be in short supply." Xia Baichao casually threw the jade bottle to Tang Ao after he finished speaking. Although Xia Baichao had said the solution, Tang Ao still didn't know what the Alchemist Alliance was. Moreover, where was the Alchemist Alliance? "Senior, may I ask where the Alchemist Alliance is? And what kind of certification is needed?" Tang Ao really did not know that there was such a thing as an Alchemy Master certification in the Hidden Dragon Crypt. Moreover, Tang Ao remembered that among the 10 alliances in the Dragon Subduing Crypt, there was no Alchemist Alliance. However, after Tang Ao asked the question, the elder martial artist seemed to have fallen asleep and had no intention of speaking at all. "Senior apprentice brother Tang Ao, I know about the Alchemist Alliance. Elder sister Mu had told me before that the Alchemist Alliance was in the central square of the Subduing Dragon Market. It's just that I've never been there before, so I don't know what to do," Sidu Qianqian, who was beside Tang Ao, said to Tang Ao after thinking for a while. Hearing Sidu Qianqian say that she knew where the Alchemist Alliance was, Tang Ao was delighted. "Come, junior sister Qianqian, let's go to the Alchemist Alliance to take a look." Tang Ao felt that the strange old man's words made sense. After becoming an alchemist, he would be able to prove his identity. And a 6-star alchemist would definitely not sell fake pills to ruin his reputation. Therefore, Tang Ao prepared to go to the Alchemist Alliance to be certified as a 6-star alchemist. If Tang Ao was willing, even the highest level 9-star alchemist exam in the whole Flying Star continent was nothing to Tang Ao, because Tang Ao's alchemy level had long surpassed this level. However, Tang Ao's cultivation level was too low, so Tang Ao did not dare to show off too much. Chapter 14:11. "Friend, may I ask where everyone is going?" Tang Ao conveniently stopped a martial artist and cupped his fist. This person was a bit angry at being suddenly stopped by Tang Ao. However, after scanning with his soul remembrance, he discovered that he couldn't see through Tang Ao's cultivation, so he didn't dare to act up. In the Hidden Dragon Cave, there were only 2 situations when one couldn't see through the opponent's cultivation. One was that the opponent was cultivating some technique to hide their cultivation. The other was that the opponent's cultivation was much higher than his. Since Tang Ao dared to stop him without hesitation, the latter was more likely. Thinking of this person suppressed his unhappiness and said to Tang Ao, "Today is the second round of the annual pill refiner exam. All the pill refiners that passed the first round will have the second round on the pill refiner plaza." Hearing that today was the second round of pill refiner exam, Tang Ao's heart thumped. Hearing this martial artist's words, it seemed that there was an exam before that he missed. Thinking of this, Tang Ao hastily asked, "Then can the pill refiners that didn't participate in the first round participate in the second round?" Seeing that Tang Ao didn't have any intentions of letting him go, this martial artist silently cursed his bad luck. Tang Ao couldn't stop anyone, but he had to stop him. The reason he went so early today was to get closer to the high stage in the center of the pill refiner plaza, so he could observe the many pill refiners concoct pills. Yet, after being stopped by Tang Ao, many people walked in front of him. However, he couldn't figure out Tang Ao's true cultivation, so he didn't dare act up. Helplessly sighing, Shi decided to carefully explain the pill refiner conference to Tang Ao. Because the pill refiner plaza was definitely filled with people right now, there was no difference between going now and going a while later. The Hidden Dragon Market's Pill Refiner Conference is the Pill Refiner Certification Conference of the Hidden Dragon Cave. It's held once a year, and each time, it lasts for 3 days. The Pill Refiner Conference's exam is split into 2 rounds. Only pill refiners that pass the first round can participate in the second round. Therefore, the alchemists who went on stage to refine pills today were all very powerful. If you're also interested in alchemy, let's not waste time here. Let's hurry over, the alchemy conference is about to begin. Shi patiently explained everything to Tang Ao. Although he was stopped by Tang Ao and didn't have the chance to sit in the front row today, Shi still didn't want to miss the opening of the alchemy conference today, so he urged Tang Ao to hurry. Shi had been very interested in medicinal herbs since he was a child, and he also wanted to learn alchemy. It was just that his spirit root did not have a fire attribute, he had a pure wood spirit root, so no alchemy grandmaster was willing to accept him as a disciple. Even so, Shi did not give up on the idea of alchemy and continued to learn alchemy by himself. It was just that he was congenitally deficient. He didn't have a pure fire spirit root, and he didn't have a good teacher to guide him, so he had been walking down the wrong path. Fortunately, his perseverance was commendable, and he was able to persevere under such circumstances. Later on, Shi realized that observing some powerful pill refiners was very enlightening to him, so Shi often thought of ways to watch some pill refiners refine pills. During the alchemy conference every year, the Pill Refiner Plaza would gather the best batch of pill refiners in the entire Hidden Dragon Cave to refine pills and exchange pointers, so Shi naturally wouldn't miss such a grand event. Chapter 14:12. Seeing that Tang Ao seemed to be very interested in the alchemy conference, Shi couldn't help but ask, "Are you an alchemist too?" Although most alchemists would go to watch the alchemy conference, not all of them were alchemists. Many martial artists who wanted to request for elixirs would go through the alchemy conference to understand the alchemy abilities of the alchemists and then choose the alchemist they were satisfied with. Yes, but it's a pity that I didn't participate in the first assessment. I'm afraid I won't be able to participate in the second assessment today. Tang Ao secretly sighed at his bad luck. He had finally found out about the Alchemy Master assessment, but he didn't have time to participate in the first assessment. Now, he didn't have the chance to participate in the second assessment. At this time, Tang Ao also somewhat understood why the old man didn't speak previously. That person must have known that he didn't participate in the first assessment after he asked about the alchemy conference. Since he didn't even participate in the first assessment, there was naturally no need for him to participate in the second assessment. Although that was the case, Tang Ao still had to go and take a look. The rules were dead, but people were alive. Although this was the rule, Tang Ao felt that there would always be exceptions. Moreover, Tang Ao's own alchemy level was simply unquestionable. The so-called 9-star alchemist in the Flying Star continent was merely a peak first-grade alchemist according to the classification standards of the Black-Yellow continent. As a peak 6th-grade alchemist, and someone who was half a step into the ranks of alchemy immortals, Tang Ao didn't believe that his elixirs couldn't be sold. After following Shi to the Alchemy Plaza, Tang Ao realized that he had still underestimated the popularity of the alchemists in the Hidden Dragon Cave. At this moment, in the Hidden Dragon Cave, the plaza that could accommodate 10,000 people was actually full. Even the surrounding buildings were filled with people. At this time, Tang Ao also understood why Shi was in a hurry just now. After arriving late, there wasn't even a place to stand. After looking for a while and realizing that there wasn't a particularly good place, Tang Ao and Shi jumped onto a thick tree like the others and stood to watch. A martial artist's eyesight was extraordinary. Even though they were separated by such a distance, they could still see everything that was happening in the square. Originally, Tang Ao thought that there were not many alchemists in the Hidden Dragon Crypt. Now, Tang Ao realized that the truth was not as he thought. Tang Ao scanned the area with his soul psyche and discovered that there were at least 300 alchemists in the Alchemy Plaza. Moreover, there would be alchemists going up the stage from time to time. This meant that there were more alchemists in the Hidden Dragon Crypt than this. Previously, Tang Ao had learned that the Dragon Subduing Crypt was an important place in the Dragon Prison Castle. But now, Tang Ao was doubting the accuracy of his words. The Dragon Prison Castle was one of the 8 overlord forces of the Flying Star continent. It was not a problem for the Dragon Prison Castle to capture some warriors and imprison them in the Hidden Dragon Cave. However, if the Dragon Prison Castle wantonly captured alchemists and imprisoned them in the Hidden Dragon Crypt, Tang Ao felt that even if the Dragon Prison Castle was one of the 8 overlord forces, it probably wouldn't be able to withstand the public condemnation. Therefore, Tang Ao felt that this Hidden Dragon Crypt was very likely not just the Dragon Prison Castle. It was very likely that the other 7 major forces were involved. Otherwise, how could the other 7 major forces just sit back and watch the Dragon Prison Castle wantonly capture alchemists? Chapter 14-13. After thinking for a while, Tang Ao said to Shi, "I'll go down and see if there's any way to participate in the second round of assessment." Tang Ao left without waiting for Shi to react. Shi was stunned by Tang Ao's words. What did he just say about participating in the second round? What? Shi muttered to himself before he reacted. Shi was speechless. Tang Ao looked like a very normal person. How could he have such a whimsical idea? It wasn't impossible to participate in the second round of assessment if one didn't participate in the first round of assessment. However, one had to pass a question from the head examiner before they could participate in the second round of assessment. However, the head examiner for this year's Alchemy Conference was the Elixir Production Alliance's Deputy Union Master, Xiao Zhen. The Alchemist Alliance had a Union Master and 3 Deputy Union Masters. Every year's Alchemy Conference, these 4 top-notch alchemists would take turns to be the head examiners. The alchemists who didn't make it to the first round of assessment could participate in the second round of assessment as long as they answered one of the head examiner's questions correctly. This rule was recognized by the 4 of them. However, ever since Xiao Zhen became the head examiner, there had never been anyone who could pass the assessment. Hence, if they knew that the head examiner for a certain year was Xiao Zhen, the alchemists in the Hidden Dragon Cave would rather leave half a year earlier than be late. Because of this, Shi didn't tell Tang Ao about this method. On the other side, Tang Ao had already arrived in front of a wooden house. Tang Ao found out that this wooden house was specially used to consult about all matters related to the alchemy conference. Hence, Tang Ao wanted to ask how someone like him could participate in the second round of assessment. Or rather, if there were any other methods of verification. Tang Ao felt that with so many alchemists in the hidden dragon cave, it was too little to verify once a year. They should be able to verify at any time. When Tang Ao came over, he saw a few people standing on the other side of the wooden house. As for the window, there was no one at all. There were still 2 hours before the start of the alchemy conference. Everyone was already in place, ready to watch the alchemy conference. "What do you want?" It was completely different from what Tang Ao had imagined. There was no sweet-looking female martial artist in this hut. Instead, there was an extremely burly middle-aged man reading a book inside. When Tang Ao came to the window, the middle-aged man didn't even raise his head and just casually asked, "I am Tang Ao, a pill refiner who is here to participate in the alchemy conference. Due to the delay on the road, I didn't make it in time for the first round of alchemy assessment. I wonder if there's any way for me to participate in the second round of assessment certification?" Just now, Tang Ao had already found out that the reason why the alchemy assessment was split into 2 rounds was because in the first round, all the martial artists who were just there to make up the numbers would be eliminated. As for the second round, it would be the true assessment to assess the alchemy skills of the alchemy masters. Therefore, strictly speaking, the first assessment was not very important. It was also because of this that the 4 higher-ups of the Alchemist Alliance established the rule that the chief examiner had the right to allow alchemists to directly participate in the second assessment. In fact, in the first round of assessment, those slightly famous alchemists did not participate because their alchemy abilities were already beyond doubt. Chapter 14:14. Excuse me, my friend, what is the purpose of going there? Tang Ao asked confusedly. You really don't know? Tang Ao's words surprised the middle-aged man. In his mind, Tang Ao didn't participate in the first exam, but wanted to participate in the second one. This meant that Tang Ao should know the rules. Why was Tang Ao asking such a question now? I've never participated in an alchemy conference before. This is indeed my first time. That's why I'm late. Tang Ao didn't know about the rules of this conference in the first place. If it weren't for that mysterious old man in the market telling him that he could come to the conference to get certified, Tang Ao wouldn't even know about the existence of the Hidden Dragon Cave and the Alchemist Union. The middle-aged man's sharp eyes stared at Tang Ao for a while. After making sure that Tang Ao wasn't lying, he explained, for the alchemists who didn't participate in the first exam, if they want to participate in the second exam, they will have to pass the main examiner's test. This year's main examiner is our Alchemist Union's vice leader, Xiaojun. You go over there and wait. My teacher will bring the exam questions over soon. As the middle-aged man spoke, he pointed at the empty space next to him. Thank you for your guidance. Tang Ao's confusion was finally solved. After holding his fists together towards the middle-aged man, Tang Ao was ready to walk to the empty space next to him. Although the middle-aged man said that the main examiner was his teacher, Tang Ao didn't want to get close to him. In terms of cultivation, Tang Ao used to be a peak level 9 astral reaching realm warrior, which was something that these people couldn't even imagine. In terms of alchemy, Tang Ao was half a step into the ranks of Alchemist Immortal, which was something that normal alchemists couldn't compete with. Plus, Tang Ao wasn't familiar with this middle-aged man, so naturally, there wasn't much to talk about. However, just as Tang Ao was about to go over, the middle-aged man stopped him. I say, this time's main examiner is my teacher. Aren't you going to ask me about the exam content? Hearing this, Tang Ao couldn't help but look back at this guy. This guy had a square face of righteousness, and his back was perfectly straight. No matter how you looked at him, he was a righteous and resolute person. But now, this guy actually asked this kind of question. However, Tang Ao still shook his head, not interested. After saying this, Tang Ao didn't stay and walked to the empty space next to him. What a joke. Tang Ao was a 6th grade alchemist, but he was only a 6-star alchemist now. If he still had to cheat, Tang Ao could just cripple his own cultivation and stop cultivating. When Tang Ao arrived at the open space, he discovered that these people didn't seem to care at all. Since these people were waiting here, they should be waiting to pass the main examiner's test and participate in the second exam as an exception. However, the people waiting here didn't look nervous, nor did they look expectant. They all had an indifferent expression. Although Tang Ao's expression was also very relaxed, it was because Tang Ao was very confident. Could it be that these guys were the same as him? Tang Ao thought inwardly. However, at this moment, Tang Ao sensed a weak soul-psyche ripple behind him. This kind of soul-psyche ripple was naturally very familiar to Tang Ao. Perhaps every martial artist was very familiar with it, because this kind of soul-psyche ripple would only appear when using soul-psyche to communicate. However, the martial artists here didn't have much of a difference in cultivation. Therefore, apart from Tang Ao, the others didn't notice that these two were using soul psyche to communicate. Chapter 14-15. Tang Ao was speechless after hearing this. Could the examiner's test be different? And even if these people passed the examiner's test, if they didn't have the real ability, the second test would be useless. But this wasn't something Tang Ao needed to worry about. Right now, Tang Ao just wanted to pass this test quickly and then sell his pills. Because of the appearance of the Poison Fog Canyon, Tang Ao had to enter Long Green Valley earlier. But before entering Long Green Valley, Tang Ao still had to make sufficient preparations. First, with Tang Ao's current cultivation, entering Long Green Valley was undoubtedly very risky. No matter how many tricks Tang Ao had, Tang Ao's cultivation was still a little low. In the middle of Long Green Valley, and even in some of the outer regions, there were 9-star demonic beasts. 9-star demonic beasts were equivalent to the peak of the body refining realm among human martial artists. And normally, demonic beasts had strong bodies and special talents. Therefore, at the same level, most demonic beasts were stronger than most martial artists of the same level. With Tang Ao's current cultivation at the peak of the body refining realm, he could barely deal with 7-star or even 8-star demonic beasts. But once he met a 9-star demonic beast, Tang Ao could only run. And this was only under normal circumstances. After all, Tang Ao had seen the image that Xiao Ling had recorded in the depths of Long Green Valley. In that image, there were even life and death realm or even stronger demonic beasts in the depths of Long Green Valley. If Tang Ao entered Long Green Valley at the 5th level of the body refining realm, as long as he met a spiritual sea realm demonic beast, Tang Ao would be doomed. Therefore, before entering Long Green Valley, Tang Ao had to increase his cultivation as much as possible. Previously, when Tang Ao entered Long Green Valley, he didn't have a clear goal. But not long ago, after hearing from Zhao Tao about the Poison Fog Canyon on the outer regions of Long Green Valley, Tang Ao was prepared to go there to take a look. Tang Ao was very interested in the crystal stone that Zhao Tao had taken out. This was because Tang Ao could feel a very powerful essence qi from the broken crystal. The intensity of this essence qi even surpassed spiritual qi. Although it sounded ridiculous, Tang Ao knew that there was nothing wrong with his feelings. Moreover, Tang Ao also obtained a Falling Star Command token. Tang Ao knew that this Falling Star Command token was certainly an extraordinary treasure. Otherwise, a chaotic heavenly realm expert like Shi Yun would not be interested in it. It was just that up until now, Tang Ao still hadn't figured out what this meteorite token was used for. However, since Zhao Tao found the meteorite token in the Miasma Canyon, Tang Ao felt that he should be able to find some clues in the Miasma Canyon. Just as Tang Ao was thinking about these things, the middle-aged warrior who had been sitting in the wooden house and reading a book walked over. Tang Ao noticed that this middle-aged warrior was holding some jade cards in his hands, but he didn't know what they were used for. "My honorable master is currently at the venue and has no time to come over. This time, I will test you alchemists on behalf of my honorable master. I hope that everyone does not mind." Xuetai cupped his fists towards everyone. "Senior apprentice brother Xuetai is too serious. It is our honor to be able to receive guidance from senior apprentice brother Xuetai." The others had not yet finished speaking when the closest warrior to Xuetai immediately boasted. After hearing his words, the surrounding warriors suddenly felt a burst of regret in their hearts. Such a good opportunity had actually not been grasped just now. If it had been the same as before, and Xiao Zhen had come up with the test, then no one here would have been able to pass. However, this Xuetai was obviously a lot easier to talk to. As long as Xuetai was satisfied, it would not be difficult for him to go easy on them during the test. In any case, the rules were set by Xuetai. Even if he went easy on them, others would not be able to tell. "I ask senior apprentice brother Xue to be lenient. If junior apprentice brother is able to participate in the second round of the test, junior apprentice brother will definitely thank you." Basically, everyone here had given gifts to Xuetai. Even if they had not given gifts before, they had seen everyone give gifts just now, and Xuetai had not avoided it. This showed that Xuetai clearly did not care about accepting gift. Therefore, when this warrior spoke, he did not avoid it. "Senior apprentice brother Xuetai, I." After hearing this warrior say this, the few warriors who had not given Xuetai any benefits immediately panicked. However, Xuetai raised his hand to stop them. "Everyone, rest assured, I have my own discretion." Chapter 14-16. There are 20 jade tokens here. Each of you take a token. As long as you can answer the questions on the token, you can participate in the second round of the Alchemist Conference, Xuetai said to the crowd after taking out the tokens. After hearing Xuetai's words, the martial artists who didn't give Xuetai any benefits felt even more uncertain. The reason why they didn't give Xuetai any benefits was because they knew the examiner this time was Xiao Zhen. If it was any other senior of the Alchemy Guild, they wouldn't be like this. But under Xiao Zhen, there had never been an alchemist who could participate in the second round without participating in the first round. Hence, they came with the mentality of giving it a try. But what they didn't expect was that this time, Xiao Zhen was too lazy to come and let his disciple do it for him. This made their intestines turn green with regret. Also, although this Xuetai accepted benefits, he was clearly not an easy person to deal with. He accepted all the benefits that everyone gave him just now. Now that the martial artists who didn't give him any benefits wanted to give him some benefits, he didn't accept them. "Let me try." Just as everyone was hesitating on what to do, an alchemist beside Tang Ao said immediately. Everyone's gaze was immediately attracted by him. After seeing that it was Lin Fan who spoke, everyone sighed in their hearts. Because this alchemist Lin had just given Xuetai half a supreme grade vitality cultivating pill. Although it was only half a pill, it was already very precious. Many alchemists didn't even recognize that it was a supreme grade vitality cultivating pill. Because in the Hidden Dragon Cave, and even in the entire Facian continent, supreme grade vitality cultivating pills were very rare. Hence, many alchemists here hadn't even seen the actual supreme grade vitality cultivating pill. But this alchemist directly gave Xuetai half a supreme grade vitality cultivating pill. No wonder he was so confident. Full of confidence, he walked up to Xuetai and said, "Senior brother Xuetai, I'll try first." Take one." Xuetai nodded and didn't say much. Shui Tai's indifferent reply stunned the alchemist. He had already received the news that the Dan Alliance's deputy alliance master, Xiao Jin, would not be coming. Instead, Xiao Jin's eldest disciple, Shui Tai, would be coming. That was why he had paid a huge price to give Shui Tai half of a supreme-grade vitality-enhancing pill that he had obtained from a historical remnant. His purpose was to let Shui Tai pass. From the surrounding people's soul remembrance transmissions, Tang Ao heard that this pill refiner had given Shui Tai half a supreme-grade raising energy pill. If it was any other pill, its medicinal strength would be greatly reduced after it was damaged. The vitality-augmenting pill was very special. As long as this kind of pill wasn't damaged too badly, it wouldn't affect its effects. In other words, this half a supreme-grade essence-augmenting pill would definitely have the same effect as half a supreme-grade essence-augmenting pill. Therefore, this half a vitality-augmenting pill was equivalent to 50 high-grade vitality-augmenting pills or 5,000 mid-grade vitality-augmenting pills. Tang Ao had been in the dragon subduing crypt for so long and naturally knew the weight of 5,000 middle-grade essence-cultivating pills. It was also because of this that Tang Ao was a bit surprised. Why was this fellow so insistent on the second round of the exam? According to what Tang Ao knew, the second round of the exam was only to evaluate the alchemist's pill concoction ability. Chapter 14-17. Was he thinking too much? Although Tang Ao didn't care if this test was fair or not, because no matter how difficult the test was, Tang Ao was confident he could pass. Under everyone's gaze, the young man called Lin Fan took out a jade card from Shui Tai's hand. Tang Ao was sure that Shui Tai didn't do anything during this process. In other words, if the problem in this jade card was something Lin Fan didn't know, then Lin Fan's half pill would be wasted. After Lin Fan took out a jade card from Shui Tai's hand, everyone else also took out jade cards in front of Shui Tai. After Tang Ao randomly took out a jade card, he walked to the side. Probing with his soul remembrance, Tang Ao saw the problem with his jade card. This question caused Tang Ao to be slightly shocked, because the question on the jade card was, "Are there higher alchemy realms after 9-star Pill Master?" After seeing this question, Tang Ao discovered that all the pill masters around him had very interesting expressions. Tang Ao was first stunned, and then he understood something. Immediately, Tang Ao released his soul remembrance, and everyone's jade cards were scanned by Tang Ao with his soul remembrance. Tang Ao thought to himself, as expected, everyone's jade card had the same problem. Using this method to take out jade cards was completely superfluous. At this time, as long as martial artists who were familiar with each other communicated with soul remembrance, they would immediately know the problem with this jade card. However, what Tang Ao didn't expect was that no martial artist communicated with soul remembrance. Not long ago, Tang Ao saw that many people here were familiar with each other. Yet now, when it came to their own benefits, no one spoke. Without thinking further, Tang Ao's attention returned to the jade card in his hand. Other people didn't know this problem, but Tang Ao knew it clearly. Tang Ao could say with certainty that above 9-star Pill Master, there were many alchemy realms. Tang Ao could even explain them in detail. However, Tang Ao did not know how to answer this question. Because Tang Ao did not believe that Shui Tai knew that there were alchemy tiers above 9-star Alchemist, if Tang Ao answered truthfully, it was most likely that he would give a wrong answer. However, if he answered no directly, then the question would be even more meaningless. Tang Ao fell into deep thought. Tang Ao thought about the meaning of this question. Suddenly, a thought flashed through Tang Ao's mind. Then, Tang Ao thought of something. In his previous life, Tang Ao had trained to the peak of astral reaching realm level 9. However, for a long time after that, Tang Ao had been thinking about whether or not there was a higher realm above the peak of astral reaching realm level 9. Although Tang Ao had also discovered experts above astral reaching realm in some ruins, Tang Ao had not found the path to a higher realm even before his death. Right now, Shui Tai's master should have also discovered the same problem. Thinking of this, Tang Ao couldn't help but sigh. Although he already knew about the world above astral reaching realm, Tang Ao had yet to touch the edge of that world. After pondering for a moment, Tang Ao wrote down his answer on the jade card with his sole remembrance. Tang Ao's answer was very simple. There were only 6 simple words: alchemy is endless. Then, Tang Ao continued to write his answer on the jade card with his sole remembrance. Then, Tang Ao handed the jade card over to Shui Tai. Chapter 1418. Not just the other alchemists, but even Shui Tai was surprised. How did Tang Ao answer so quickly? Out of all these alchemists, Shui Tai was most interested in Tang Ao's answer. Shui Tai could tell that Tang Ao's arrogance wasn't fake. Instead, it was a display of extreme confidence in his own strength. This kind of alchemist usually didn't have bad alchemy skills. Though Shui Tai looked very boorish on the outside, Shui Tai himself was this kind of person. Are you done answering? Have you thought it through? Shui Tai rarely asked other people questions, but now Shui Tai asked Tang Ao 2 questions in a row. As he asked, Shui Tai scanned the jade card with his sole remembrance. Immediately, Shui Tai saw Tang Ao's answer. Tang Ao's answer was very simple. There were only 6 words: alchemy is endless. Seeing these 6 words, Shui Tai was a bit stunned, but he still nodded. Though Shui Tai's answer wasn't as resolute as Tang Ao's, Shui Tai also believed that there were higher alchemy realms above 9-star alchemist. However, he hadn't even reached 9-star alchemist yet, so he naturally didn't have the qualifications to pursue higher alchemy realms. Okay, take this identity jade card and participate in the second round of the exam. This time, Shui Tai took out a golden jade card from his storage ring and gave it to Tang Ao. At the moment, this golden jade card only had one number, alchemist number 520. Tang Ao didn't think he would pass so easily. After receiving the golden jade card, Tang Ao cupped his fists towards Shui Tai and immediately rushed towards the high platform for the second round of the exam. Only after Tang Ao left did everyone react. Tang Ao being able to answer correctly so quickly meant that Tang Ao definitely knew the correct answer. Just now, they should have used sole remembrance to ask, but just now, everyone was stunned by Tang Ao. No one thought of this. The alchemy conference's venue was extremely spacious. Tang Ao walked around for a while before he arrived at the stage for the second round of the assessment. This high platform was made of solid basalt rocks and was 30 feet above the ground. The area of the platform was very wide. Even if thousands of people stood on it at the same time, it would not be crowded at all. 600 pill furnaces were placed neatly on the stone platform. Beside most of the pill furnaces, there were already alchemists sitting by the side to regulate their breathing, ensuring that they would participate in the competition in their peak condition. There was no first place in martial arts and no second place in alchemy. In the cultivation of martial arts, there was always someone better than you. Therefore, no one dared to say that they were the strongest in martial arts. Even Lu Chuanjia, the well-acknowledged strongest warrior on the Flying Star continent, had never admitted that he was the strongest warrior on the Flying Star continent. However, refining pills was different. Currently, the best alchemists on the Flying Star continent were judging the quality of the vitality augmentation pills they refined. If a pill refiner could refine the ultimate vitality enhancement pill, he would be the best pill refiner on the Flying Star continent. This was because among the many pill refiners on the Flying Star continent, there were less than 10 who could refine high-grade vitality augmentation pills. However, although these 10 pill refiners could refine high-grade vitality augmentation pills, none of them could refine the ultimate vitality augmentation pills. As Tang Ao walked towards the high platform, some people were astonished. Although there were 519 pill refiners on the stage, which was quite a number, almost every pill refiner had people paying attention to them. Moreover, Tang Ao was obviously a new face. Although there were many pill refiners here, everyone could be sure that Tang Ao was not among the pill refiners who stood out in the first round. What was the reason? Many people seemed to have thought of an impossible answer. Chapter 14:19. If it was any other senior from the Alchemy Guild, no one would be so surprised. However, the main examiner of the alchemy assessment this time was Xiao Zhen. The fact that Tang Ao had passed the test was a little unbelievable to everyone. Ever since Xiao Zhen became the main examiner of the alchemy assessment, there had never been an alchemist under him who could skip the first round and directly participate in the second round. The alchemists who did not participate in the first round were not because they did not participate in the first round, but because they had achieved impressive results in the alchemy assessment over the years, so there was no need for them to participate in the first round. Alchemy assessment is a restricted area. Idlers are not allowed to enter. Just as Tang Ao walked onto the high platform of the alchemy conference, a martial artist holding a long spear blocked Tang Ao's way. This guard was extremely sturdy, just like an iron tower. "This is my identity jade card." Tang Ao did not say much and directly handed over the golden jade card that Xue Tai had given him not long ago. At this moment, this golden jade card did not have Tang Ao's name written on it, only a number 520. After seeing this jade card, the guard immediately stepped aside and let Tang Ao pass. Those alchemists who had been eliminated in the first round were now extremely envious of Tang Ao. Not far away, Shi, who was standing on a towering ancient tree, suspected that his eyes were playing tricks on him. This was because Shi realized that the martial artist who had just walked onto the alchemy platform looked very similar to Tang Ao. After continuing to stare carefully for a while, Shi's eyes widened. This was because Shi was sure that the alchemist who had just walked onto the platform was Tang Ao. How is this possible? Have I been poisoned by the illusion flower poison? Shi suddenly removed a hair from his head. The clear pain let him know that he was definitely very awake at this moment. However, even though this had happened in front of him, Shi still felt that it was a little unbelievable. One had to know that the main examiner in charge of the alchemy assessment this time was the deputy chief of the Alchemy Guild, Xiao Zhen. Xiao Zhen had always been known to be impartial. Under his supervision, there was no way that anyone could cheat their way through. After confirming the identity of the alchemist, Tang Ao walked to a stone table with the number 520 written on it. At this moment, there was a standardized alchemy furnace placed on the stone table. It was the standard alchemy furnace used by alchemists to refine pills. Obviously, alchemists were not allowed to use their own alchemy furnace in the following assessment. There were pros and cons to doing this. Every alchemist's alchemy habits were different, so basically every alchemist had their own alchemy furnace. Most people would only use this kind of standard alchemy furnace in the early stages of learning alchemy. After that, they never used it again. As for Tang Ao, it was his first time coming into contact with this kind of pill furnace, because when Tang Ao first started learning alchemy, he used a high-grade pill furnace. At this moment, this pill furnace was the worst pill furnace Tang Ao had ever used in alchemy. Tang Ao's sole remembrance swept the alchemy furnace. After seeing the crude and chaotic inscription arrays, Tang Ao felt very speechless. Tang Ao felt that if this kind of alchemy furnace got too hot, it would most likely explode. The Alchemy Assessment Assembly organized by the Alchemy Alliance could be considered the highest standard alchemy exchange in the Hidden Dragon Crypt. How could the alchemy furnace used be so bad? Chapter 1420. After seeing this problem, Tang Ao understood. The reason why pill masters were allowed to enter the pill concoction conference early wasn't to let everyone come in to meditate. Instead, it was to let everyone come in to fix the inscription arrays on the pill furnace. Compared to blacksmiths, pill masters didn't know much about inscription arrays. However, almost every pill master knew about the 5 most basic inscription arrays on the pill furnace. Tang Ao's soul remembrance instantly spread out in all directions. Subsequently, Tang Ao saw that although some pill masters were sitting to the side, they were secretly using soul remembrance to fix the broken inscription arrays on the pill furnace. A few of the pill masters had already finished fixing the inscription arrays on the pill furnace. There were also some people who didn't understand the situation at all. Seeing the other pill masters sitting down, they also sat down with nothing to do. In reality, other people sat down to concentrate on fixing the broken inscription arrays on the pill furnace, but these people didn't know. After scanning the area with soul remembrance, Tang Ao also sat down. Subsequently, Tang Ao's powerful soul remembrance surged towards the pill furnace next to him. This elixir furnace had 5 basic inscription arrays for refining elixir furnaces, but at this moment, these 5 arrays were all damaged. Fortunately, the damage wasn't very serious. Therefore, as long as one knew a little about inscription arrays, they could follow the instructions and fix the 5 broken inscription arrays. Fixing these 5 inscription arrays naturally wasn't a problem for Tang Ao. However, Tang Ao didn't plan on fixing these 5 inscription arrays because their grade was too low. The inscription arrays that Tang Ao could casually carve were dozens of times better than these. Therefore, with a powerful soul remembrance fluctuation, the inscription arrays inside the pill furnace were completely destroyed by Tang Ao. After destroying the original inscription arrays, Tang Ao began to carve new inscription arrays inside the pill furnace. Under Tang Ao's soul remembrance carving, an incomparably complex inscription quietly appeared. Mysterious lines ran through the entire pill furnace. It didn't take long for the 3-star alchemy furnace to become a 9-star alchemy furnace in Tang Ao's hands. However, due to the poor quality of the materials used to refine the elixir furnace, even if Tang Ao directly engraved the 9-star inscription formation inside the elixir furnace did not reach the standard of a 9-star elixir furnace. However, at this level, there was no problem for Tang Ao to use this pill furnace for alchemy. After Tang Ao finished carving the inscription formation, he sat quietly and adjusted his breathing. At the same time, Tang Ao secretly considered what level of alchemy master he should certify this time. At first, Tang Ao was prepared to certify a 6-star alchemist, but after Tang Ao saw so many alchemists on the alchemy platform, Tang Ao knew that though a 6-star alchemist was not bad, it seemed like he was still slightly lacking. After some consideration, Tang Ao decided that this time, he would certify an alchemist above 6-star. As for how many stars he wanted to certify, it would depend on what the test was about. This wasn't because Tang Ao didn't have confidence in the test, but because Tang Ao felt that if the content of the test was too heaven-defying, it would be better for him to keep a low profile. There was sure Tianyun here. Who knew if there was a 2nd or 3rd turbid heaven realm expert hidden here? Although Tang Ao believed that he had some skills, Tang Ao wasn't conceited enough to challenge a turbid heaven realm expert. Chapter 1421. Tang Ao had estimated that with the strength of the flying star continent's energy, it could only support a martial artist to the 1st level of the origin martial realm. Any higher and the martial artist's energy would be saturated, and they wouldn't be able to break through to a higher level. Therefore, if this old man was half a step into the origin martial realm, he would definitely be a top expert in the entire flying star continent. Greetings, Alliance Leader Xiao. While Tang Ao was still in a daze, the other martial artists all stood up respectfully. Whether it was the alchemists on the stage or the martial artists below, they all bowed to Xiaojun. Tang Ao also realized that this old man was the deputy alliance leader of the Alchemy Guild and the chief examiner of this alchemy conference, Xiaojun. Tang Ao wasn't very clear about Xiaojun's alchemy abilities, but Tang Ao didn't doubt Xiaojun's abilities at all. Right now, Tang Ao could still escape from a martial artist at the 9th level of the body refining realm. However, if he were to face a powerful martial artist like Xiaojun, Tang Ao definitely wouldn't have a chance to escape. However, Tang Ao didn't have any conflicts with this alliance leader Xiao, so Tang Ao didn't need to worry about these problems at the moment. Xiaojun casually waved his hand. No need to be so polite. Since everyone is ready, the alchemy conference will begin now. Let me first explain the rules. The second round of the alchemy conference will be divided into 3 rounds. These 3 rounds will be the same as the previous years. The first round will be to identify spirit herbs, the second round will be to refine any kind of pill, and the third round will be to refine the vitality cultivating pill. After the 3 rounds, I and the other alchemists will judge your alchemy level. If there are no questions, we will begin now. Xiaojun looked at the crowd, clearly asking if anyone had any questions. Other than Tang Ao, the alchemists who were able to come here were all very familiar with the process of the alchemy conference. Naturally, there wouldn't be any questions. At this time, Tang Ao suddenly realized that someone was looking at him. Tang Ao turned around and realized that the person who was looking at him was Master Lin Fan. Tang Ao remembered that this guy had very generously bribed Xuetai with half a supreme grade vitality augmenting pill. Now seeing him here, Tang Ao didn't know whether it was because of the supreme grade vitality augmenting pill or some other reason. When Tang Ao looked at Lin Fan smiled back at Tang Ao. Tang Ao nodded back as a form of greeting. As for Lin Fan, Tang Ao didn't have much of an opinion. This kind of thing depended on their own abilities. Hence, Tang Ao and Lin Fan didn't have any conflict. Furthermore, Tang Ao felt that this Lin Fan was not as simple as he seemed. Otherwise, he wouldn't have paid such a huge price to participate in this test. However, whether or not Lin Fan had any secrets, it didn't have much to do with Tang Ao. Hence, Tang Ao's attention was still on this alchemy competition and didn't pay too much attention to Lin Fan. Lin Fan was the same. In order to participate in this alchemy competition, he had paid a huge price. That half of the vitality augmenting pill was something that Lin Fan had obtained by chance in a historical site. Back then, Lin Fan had obtained a total of 2 supreme grade vitality augmenting pills. Now, he was only left with that half. When there were no more questions from the alchemists, Xiaojun also announced the official start of the alchemy conference. Following that, a few attendants began to bring out medicine baskets and place them beside the alchemists. These medicine baskets all contained 81 types of spiritual herbs. Clearly, the alchemists were required to identify these 81 spiritual herbs. Chapter 1422. Although these spirit herbs weren't the most common ones, Tang Ao had been looking through the collection of spirit herbs, so Tang Ao could recognize all of them. After identifying the spirit herbs on the surface, Tang Ao was dumbfounded by the scene in front of him. This was because after identifying the spirit herbs on the surface one by one, the remaining spirit herbs were actually cut into pieces. If it was a complete spirit herb, it would be very easy to identify it by its appearance. However, it wasn't so easy to identify these spirit herbs that were cut into pieces. At least, it was completely impossible to identify this kind of spirit herb by its appearance and characteristic. Tang Ao counted. There were a total of 20 types of spirit herbs that were cut into pieces. If one didn't have a very familiar understanding of spirit herbs, it would be impossible to identify so many spirit herbs after being sliced. Tang Ao first grabbed a piece of dark green thin piece. This piece of spirit grass was dark green in color, and there was a 5-pointed star pattern in the middle. The texture was very tough. After looking at it for a while, Tang Ao knew what it was. This spirit herb was called inkweed. It was an 8-star spirit herb. In the hidden dragon cave, or even in the entire Facian continent, 8-star spirit herbs were already very precious. Even though this alchemy conference only used a few pieces of inkweed, it was enough to show the alchemy guild's wealth. One had to know that a piece of inkweed was sold for a supreme-grade essence cultivation pill. In other words, the piece of inkweed in Tang Ao's hand was worth more than 10 middle-grade essence cultivation pills. However, such a precious medicinal ingredient was being used for an assessment. After laughing bitterly, Tang Ao recorded the shape and characteristics of the inkweed on the jade slip in his hand. Then, Tang Ao continued to observe the other pieces. Because Tang Ao recorded one type of spirit herb, he put the spirit herbs that he had recorded to the side. Therefore, Tang Ao's medicine basket was quickly emptied. Tang Ao's speed naturally attracted the attention of the surrounding alchemists and the audience. Everyone looked at Tang Ao in surprise. They clearly didn't think that Tang Ao could identify so many spirit herbs in such a short time. Especially the alchemists present, everyone thought that Tang Ao was writing randomly. The audience didn't know what kind of spirit herbs they were going to identify this time, but the crowd of pill refiners on the pill refiners square was very clear. The spirit herbs that were being identified this time were some of the rarer ones. There were even some spirit herbs that might not be seen in their entire lives if they hadn't come across them. For example, the inkweed that Tang Ao identified previously was something that not many alchemists present had seen before. However, Tang Ao didn't care at all about the gazes of the crowd. He continued to carefully examine the spirit herbs in his hand. As time passed, Tang Ao's 20 spirit herb slices were down to the last 3. However, just as Tang Ao picked up a spirit herb and was about to identify it, the alchemist in front of Tang Ao finished identifying it. This was a white-clothed youth with a jade-like face. After identifying the spirit herb, this youth didn't have an excited expression. Instead, he had a calm expression. It seemed that being the first to identify all the spirit herbs out of all the alchemists wasn't something to be happy about. After the attendant gave his jade slip to Xiaozhen, Xiaozhen's sole remembrance immediately went into the jade slip. After looking for a moment, Xiaozhen nodded his head in satisfaction. To be able to identify 78 spirit herbs in such a short time is already very good. Young and accomplished, but not arrogant. Not bad. Hearing that Wang Kuan was able to identify 78 spirit herbs in such a short time, the surrounding alchemists were all shocked. Although Wang Kuan's background wasn't ordinary, having such knowledge at such an age was already very impressive. Chapter 1423. Wang Kuan also knew that when he was identifying the spiritual herbs just now, there were 3 that he wasn't very sure about. It was just that Wang Kuan's pursuit of speed had shocked everyone, so he didn't carefully identify the 3 spiritual herbs that he wasn't sure about. Now all of them were wrong. Tang Ao had initially thought that Wang Kuan was very knowledgeable about spiritual grasses and was able to identify all the spiritual grasses in less than half an hour. Now that he saw Wang Kuan mistaking 3 spiritual grasses, Tang Ao shook his head. This was because there was no time limit for this assessment. It was a competition of who could identify the most spiritual herbs. Just now, Xiaozhen said that only the top 300 pill refiners would enter the next stage. This meant that about half of the 600 over pill refiners here would be eliminated. As long as the identification time wasn't lower than the top 300, there shouldn't be any problems. Although after the top 300 there might be a longer time, but there were more spiritual herbs that could be identified. Or it could be said that before the top 300, there were very few spiritual herbs that could be identified. Tang Ao believed that after so many years of pill refinement assessment, there should be a reasonable scoring method in such a situation. Time passed bit by bit. One by one, the pill refiners finished identifying the spiritual herbs. Among them, Wang Kuan was still the last. At this moment, Tang Ao still had 2 slices of spiritual herbs that he hadn't identified. If it was a whole spiritual herb, just based on its appearance, he could identify many of them. But after these spiritual herbs were sliced, he couldn't identify them based on their appearance. Not only could he not identify them based on their appearance, but after identifying the spiritual herb, he even had to add a picture of the spiritual herb on the jade slip. This is the root of the impatience flower. It should be right. At this moment, Tang Ao was holding a root that was as thick as a pinky finger. After carefully identifying the spiritual herb's characteristics in the Shen Nong's Herbal Classic, Tang Ao finally confirmed it. After confirming this kind of spiritual grass, Tang Ao felt a little confused about the last kind of spiritual grass. This was because Tang Ao could feel a surging vitality from this spiritual herb. Although it was just a slice of the spiritual herb, Tang Ao could see that this spiritual herb was extraordinary. In addition, Tang Ao was sure that he had never come into contact with this kind of elixir before. Moreover, after Tang Ao observed it for a long time, Tang Ao discovered that he was actually unable to determine the grade of this spirit herb. If it was a normal spirit herb, it would be easy to determine the rank of the spirit herb after using soul remembrance to examine it. But now, in Tang Ao's hand, there was a piece of jade-like spirit grass rhizome, but Tang Ao did not know what grade of spirit grass it was. I can't tell its grade. Tang Ao suddenly thought of something. His thoughts were a little stiff. Ever since he started learning alchemy, every time he encountered a spirit herb that he didn't recognize, he had to first determine the grade of the spirit herb. However, Tang Ao had overlooked a very important thing. In this world, there was a very special type of spirit grass, and that was the spirit grass that had no grade. Thinking of this, Tang Ao was almost certain that this stalk of spiritual grass was a spiritual grass without a grade. Although this type of spirit grass didn't have a grade, it was very rare and precious. After confirming that this spirit grass was a spiritual grass without a grade, Tang Ao immediately searched his brain for spiritual grass without a grade. Chapter 1424. The small piece in Tang Ao's hand was clearly a part of the jade dragon incense tree's trunk. This thing was useless to others, but in Tang Ao's hands, its significance was extraordinary. Through the 100 Herbs collection's description, Tang Ao knew that the jade dragon incense was a spirit tea tree of the ancient times. Even in the ancient times, the jade dragon incense was extremely rare. This was because the jade dragon incense had very strict requirements for its living environment. It had to grow in a place filled with primal chaos aura. However, not every place was filled with primal chaos aura. Even in the ancient times, places with primal chaos aura were only the cultivation caves of peak experts. But now, places with primal chaos aura were practically non-existent. In Tang Ao's previous life, he had traversed the entire black-yellow continent, but Tang Ao had yet to discover any place with primal chaos aura. The black-yellow continent was several tens of thousands of times larger than the flying star continent. Since there was no primal chaos aura in the black-yellow continent, Tang Ao didn't believe that the flying star continent would have primal chaos aura. Therefore, the jade dragon incense couldn't survive here. However, in Tang Ao's hands, it was different, because Tang Ao knew where primal chaos aura could be found. This place was none other than Tang Ao's Primal Chaos 6 Light Mirror Space. Tang Ao's Primal Chaos 6 Light Mirror Space was filled with dense primal chaos aura. Tang Ao could sense that this primal chaos aura was extremely powerful. However, Tang Ao had tried many times. Even with a heaven-defying technique like the ancient god-moving sky technique and a heaven-defying constitution like the Nine-Dragon Emperor Jade Body, Tang Ao was still unable to absorb and refine the primal chaos aura within the primal chaos 6 light mirror. If the intensity of spiritual qi was 1,000 times that of yuan qi, then the primal chaos aura within the primal chaos 6 light mirror space was countless times that of spiritual qi. Without any exaggeration, if Tang Ao could refine the primal chaos aura, then even if Tang Ao was only at the life and death realm, Tang Ao would still be able to challenge astral-reaching experts without any pressure. However, Tang Ao couldn't even absorb and refine a single strand of primal chaos aura, not to mention using it to cultivate to the life and death realm. Although Tang Ao couldn't use primal chaos aura to cultivate, Tang Ao could use the primal chaos aura within the primal chaos 6 light mirror space to cultivate Jade Dragon incense. Although the Jade Dragon incense was a spiritual tree from ancient times, the 100 Herb collection also recorded the method to cultivate it. Jade Dragon incense was different from other spirit woods. Any part of it could be cultivated into a complete Jade Dragon incense. Jade Ao and Ao's jade was different from other spirit woods. One Jade Dragon incense could be cultivated from any part of Jade Dragon incense. Dragon incense Uao jade could be tree of the jade. The piece of Jade Dragon incense in Tang Ao's hand right now, Tang Ao felt that the quality was somewhat poor. Although any part of the trunk could be cultivated into Jade Dragon incense, the 100 Herbs collection said that the core of the tree was the best. Even if Tang Ao had never seen a spirit wood like Jade Dragon incense, Tang Ao knew that the piece in his hand was definitely not the core of the tree, but a piece cut from a branch. Tang Ao learned from the 100 Herbs collection that Jade Dragon incense was a kind of spirit tea tree. Its leaves could be used to brew spirit tea that could strengthen soul remembrance. Because Tang Ao had opened his soul sea, the strength of his soul remembrance had already far surpassed martial artists of the same realm. If he could also strengthen his soul remembrance with Jade Dragon incense, Tang Ao's soul remembrance would reach a frightening level. Chapter 1425. Lin Fan, you identified 80 types of spirit grass. Not bad. Just as Tang Ao was thinking, Dan Alliance's Vice Alliance Master Xiao Zhen's voice sounded. Upon hearing that Lin Fan could identify 80 types of elixirs, Tang Ao was shocked as well. Previously, in order to participate in the second round of assessment, Lin Fan had directly given Xue Tai half a supreme grade vitality enhancing pill. This had caused Tang Ao to feel that Lin Fan's strength should not be enough. But now, reality had proven that not only was Lin Fan the real deal, he was also extremely strong. If Tang Ao had not seen the 100 Herb collection, Tang Ao would only be able to identify 78 types of spiritual herbs like Wang Kuan. Among them, there were 3 spiritual herbs that Tang Ao had never seen before. Tang Ao had seen the black fragrance vine in the beginning, then the impatiens, and finally the Jade Dragon incense in the end. However, after seeing that no one had identified the 81 types of spiritual herbs, Tang Ao was hesitant about whether he should submit his jade slip. This was because on Tang Ao's jade slip, Tang Ao had identified all 81 types of spiritual herbs. Tang Ao was a little worried, wondering if there would be any problems in identifying the spirit herbs this time. After thinking for a while, Tang Ao's powerful soul remembrance swept over Lin Fan, Wang Kuan, and the others' jade slips. At that moment, their jade slips were placed on a stone platform beside Xiao Zhen. Although they knew that the answers were in the jade slips, no one dared to look at them. However, Tang Ao was obviously not a person who did not dare to do so. Of course, when Tang Ao looked at their jade slips, it was not because he wanted to see their answers, because Tang Ao had already identified all the 81 spiritual grasses. Tang Ao just wanted to see if other than him, no one else could recognize the Jade Dragon incense. If so, Tang Ao had to erase the answer of the Jade Dragon incense. With a thought, Tang Ao's powerful soul remembrance accurately landed on the jade slip next to Xiaojun. At this moment, there were already dozens of jade slips piled up on the stone table beside Xiaojun. These jade slips were all handed over after the pill refiners had given their answers. When Tang Ao's soul remembrance touched the jade slip, Tang Ao suddenly discovered an extremely faint soul remembrance probing over. After discovering this soul remembrance, Tang Ao silently laughed. There really were people who wanted to use soul remembrance to cheat. Moreover, if Tang Ao didn't say anything, others truly wouldn't be able to discover this soul remembrance. This was because the owner of this soul remembrance seemed to have used some secret technique, causing his soul remembrance to be extremely weak. Even Tang Ao almost didn't notice this soul remembrance if he didn't look carefully. After sensing this soul remembrance, Tang Ao looked in the direction the soul remembrance came from. He then saw a young girl with a very proud expression inscribing the name of a spirit herb as well as the image of the spirit herb on the jade slip in her hand. Seeing this young girl use her soul remembrance to peek at Wang Kuan and the others' answers while inscribing the spirit herb's image on the jade slip, Tang Ao silently sighed at the strength of this young girl's soul remembrance. Tang Ao conveniently swept his soul remembrance over the jade slip in the young girl's hand. Tang Ao discovered that this jade slip already had 71 types of spirit herbs on it. However, the young girl hadn't recorded the remaining 20 sliced spirit herbs. Clearly, this young girl could completely recognize the remaining 71 unsliced spirit herbs. Those who could recognize these 71 spirit herbs would be able to recognize at least 3 of the remaining 10 sliced spirit herbs. This was because these 3 types of spirit herbs were made from the 3 types of spirit herbs that had been cut into small pieces. After thinking for a moment, Tang Ao understood. This young girl should be able to recognize a few spirit herbs with her own strength. However, this young girl was too lazy to recognize them due to her powerful soul remembrance, so she directly used soul remembrance to cheat. Chapter 1426. However, when Tang Ao saw the 5 spirit medicines she chose, Tang Ao almost couldn't help but laugh out loud. This was because the young girl had magically avoided all the correct answers after combining their answers. She had found 5 wrong spirit herbs from their jade slips and engraved them on her own jade slip. After she was done, Tang Ao saw her walking towards Xiaojun in a very proud manner. "Grandfather, these are the spirit medicines that Huan Huan identified." Ning Huan Huan gave the jade slip in her hand to Xiaojun. Her mouth slightly rose and her face was proud. Xiaojun was both loving and angry at this granddaughter of his. At such a young age, she already had a very high pill Dao level. Her soul remembrance was dense and precise, and she was born with exceptional pill concoction talent. However, this young girl was too playful and didn't want to be disciplined. Therefore, Ning Huanhuan's pill concoction level didn't match her talent and resources. Even with Xiaojun's personal guidance, Ning Huanhuan was only a 6-star alchemist. She was still a long way from becoming a 7-star alchemist. However, under Xiaojun, there were already 3 disciples whose pill concoction talent was far below Ning Huanhuan's, but their pill concoction abilities had already surpassed Ning Huanhuan. According to Xiaojun's thoughts, if Ning Huanhuan put her heart and soul into pill concoction, she would have become a 7-star alchemist or even an 8-star alchemist already. Last time in the Pill Alliance's test, you identified 72 spirit medicines. I want to see if you've improved or not. Xiaojun's words clearly indicated that the Pill Alliance had organized such a test before. This way, to the alchemists who didn't join the Pill Alliance, it was very unfair. However, although they knew it wasn't fair, no one said anything. "Grandfather, don't worry. I've definitely improved this time. Don't always wrongly accuse me of not improving." Ning Huanhuan heard Xiaojun's words and pouted. She then urged Xiaozhen to look at the spirit medicines she identified. When Xiaozhen first started looking, his face slowly turned into a smile because Ning Huanhuan still hadn't made a mistake after looking at 60 spirit medicines. However, as he continued looking, after seeing the 71st spirit medicine and getting 5 wrong, Xiaozhen felt as if his lungs were going to crack. This was because Ning Huanhuan had gotten the last 5 elixirs wrong. This also meant that when Ning Huanhuan took the test in the Dan Alliance, she had identified 72 types of spirit medicines correctly, but in this alchemy assembly, Ning Huanhuan actually only identified 71 types correctly. Not only did this last not improve, she even made so many mistakes due to her carelessness. There were even some spiritual herbs that she did not recognize. This is infuriating. You better reflect on your actions when you return. You identified 71 types of spirit medicines correctly. Xiaozhen roared after reading Ning Huanhuan's jade slip. However, in the face of Xiaozhen's roar, Ning Huanhuan was full of doubt. That can't be. Did you see wrongly? This time, Ning Huanhuan personally identified 71 herbs, while the remaining 5 were a combination of Wang Kun and companies. Even if he still accidentally copied 1 or 2, he shouldn't have copied all of them wrong. Tang Ao looked at Ning Huanhuan's doubtful expression from afar and couldn't help but find it funny. Because even Tang Ao found it hard to believe that Ning Huanhuan actually copied all the wrong answers after combining Wang Kun's and company's jade slip. When Tang Ao's soul remembrance swept past Ning Huanhuan seemed to have sensed something and turned around to look in Tang Ao's direction. Chapter 1427. Tang Ao's soul remembrance didn't stay on Ning Huanhuan's body. At this moment, Tang Ao had already looked through all the jade slips that the pill refiners had handed in. Although Tang Ao didn't know how these pill refiners knew about the jade dragon incense, Tang Ao could already confirm that he wasn't the only one who knew about it. Among the pill refiners that had handed in their jade slips, there were over 30 pill refiners that knew about the jade dragon incense, including Wang Kun and Lin Fan. Moreover, Tang Ao saw that not only did these people know about the jade dragon incense, they also knew that its leaves could be used to make spirit tea. This caused Tang Ao to be secretly shocked. Could it be that there was still jade dragon incense in this hidden dragon cave? One had to know that even a high-level plane like Black-Yellow Continent didn't have jade dragon incense. Could this tiny flying star continent have jade dragon incense? If it wasn't for the fact that this was a pill concoction conference and that Tang Ao wasn't familiar with the surrounding pill refiners, then Tang Ao would definitely go over and ask if there was jade dragon incense spirit wood in the hidden dragon cave. After confirming that there weren't any problems, Tang Ao stood up and handed the jade slip over. However, Tang Ao didn't directly hand the jade slip over to Xiaozhen. When Tang Ao walked to the front of the high platform, a servant girl took Tang Ao's jade slip and immediately handed it over to a long-bearded middle-aged man. Tang Ao didn't expect that even checking the results had to be done by person. For people like Ning Huanhuan and Wang Kun, they were personally checked by Xiaozhen. However, for a nameless pill refiner like him, they were randomly found to check. However, Tang Ao didn't mind. After all, no matter who checked, he would always be correct. After taking Tang Ao's jade slip, Di Wenming nodded to Tang Ao and immediately pulled himself together to carefully check. Seeing Di Wenming's attitude, Tang Ao was very satisfied. This was because when he was identifying these spirit medicines, he was also very serious and careful. If he wasn't serious and careful when checking, then it would be irresponsible. After Di Wenming started checking Tang Ao's jade strip, his complexion changed a bit because Tang Ao's answers were very neat and tidy. After looking at 30 spirit medicines in a row, Tang Ao didn't make any mistake. This made Di Wenming even more excited. After checking 60 types of spirit herbs, Di Di Wenming looked at Tang Ao in shock. There were quite a few alchemy masters in the subduing dragon crypt, but Di Wenming practically knew those slightly more impressive alchemy masters. Although Di Wenming had never seen Tang Ao concoct pills, Tang Ao's understanding of medicinal pills had already deeply shocked Di Wenming. The Dan Alliance had a total of 3 Vice Alliance Masters and 1 Alliance Master. Like Xiao Zhen and Xia Baichao, Di Wenming was also the Dan Alliance's Vice Alliance Master. Refiner Wen was very well, so Zhen and Tian. Tang. Tian Wen AOT Master. After a while, Di Wenming finished reading the contents of Tang Ao's jade slip. After looking through it, Di Wenming's expression became very interesting. This year's alchemy conference was really full of hidden talent. This Tang Ao had never appeared before, but this time, he immediately shocked everyone. This was because Tang Ao actually identified all 81 spirit medicines without any mistakes. Chapter 1428. Every time the alchemy conference was held, the spirit herbs to be identified would be different. Although there would be 81 types of spirit herbs to be identified each time, Di Wenming's group of 4 would each choose 30 types of spirit herbs. In the end, they would be chosen from the 120 types of spirit herbs. After hearing Di Wenming's words, Tang Ao immediately became the center of attention. Tang Ao clearly felt that in an instant, countless soul remembrance enveloped his body. Among them, a few of the more powerful soul remembrance left a soul remembrance imprint on his body. This caused Tang Ao to furrow his brows. No matter the reason, leaving a soul remembrance imprint on someone else was a provocative action. Xiao Zhen was also shocked by Di Wenming's words and immediately walked over. "Brother Di, where is this young friend's answer jade slip?" This wasn't because Xiao Zhen didn't trust Di Wenming, but because Xiao Zhen wanted to personally see how Tang Ao would answer. Di Wenming didn't refuse and very straightforwardly handed over Tang Ao's answer jade slip. After all, Xiao Zhen was this year's main examiner of the pill concoction conference, so it was natural for him to check the answer jade slip. Xiao Zhen began to look at Tang Ao's jade slip. With just one glance, Xiao Zhen felt very shocked. This was because Tang Ao's answer was very clear and the content was very specific. Moreover, the image recorded with soul remembrance was also very lifelike. Just this point alone was enough to prove that Tang Ao's knowledge of spirit herbs wasn't weak. After Xiao Zhen finished reading it from beginning to end, Xiao Zhen was even more surprised. Tang Ao didn't look old, but his knowledge of spirit herbs was very strong. Just now, he had carefully looked through the jade slip. In Tang Ao's jade slip, the various characteristics and attributes of the spirit grasses were very clear. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that Tang Ao's jade slip could be used as an illustration of the spirit grasses in the eastern part of Evergreen Valley. This was because all of these 81 spiritual herbs could be found in the eastern part of the Evergreen Valley, including the jade dragon incense that Tang Ao wanted the most. It could be found in the eastern part of the central region of the Evergreen Valley. However, Tang Ao didn't know that these spiritual herbs actually grew in the eastern region of Evergreen Valley. If Tang Ao knew that the eastern region of Evergreen Valley had jade dragon incense spiritual wood, Tang Ao would most likely be shocked speechless. However, Tang Ao didn't know about this at the moment. In Tang Ao's opinion, the jade dragon incense should have gone extinct after the ancient times. That was because for the jade dragon incense spiritual wood to survive, it needed the aura of primal chaos. However, there weren't many places with primal chaos aura. Although human martial artists could not directly use the primal chaos aura, they could use some indirect methods to make use of the primal chaos aura. For example, cultivating the jade dragon incense spiritual wood was a way to indirectly use the aura of primal chaos. The growth of the Jade Dragon Incense spiritual wood could absorb the primal chaos aura. Then, martial artists could use the leaves of the Jade Dragon Incense spiritual wood to brew spirit tea and drink it. It could temper the body and soul remembrance. After a long time, Xiao Zhen put down the jade slip in his hand. Even the usually strict Xiao Zhen smiled at Tang Ao and said, "Congratulations, little friend Tang Ao, for identifying all the herbs in the first round." After receiving Xiao Zhen's strong affirmation, many people even began to inquire about Tang Ao's background. However, Tang Ao seemed too mysterious. Among the people present, no one actually recognized Tang Ao. If an alchemist had a deep understanding of spirit herbs, then they naturally wouldn't be weak in alchemy. However, no one really recognized Tang Ao. Chapter 1429. After so much time had passed, the remaining pill refiners were basically pill refiners who didn't know much about spiritual medicine. If they knew a lot about spiritual medicine, they would have already finished identifying these spiritual medicine. Now, they were hesitant to hand over their jade slips because they were checking them over and over again, striving to not make any mistakes on the pills they were confident in. Other than those pill refiners who didn't hand over their jade slips, there were also some pill refiners who left after identifying spiritual medicine. This was because in every alchemy conference, the spiritual medicine to be identified was different. Although it was different, there was something in common, and that was the spiritual medicine that needed to be identified was definitely not common. Because of this, many pill refiners who had decent alchemy skills would often leave in the first round. A pill refiner didn't need to understand too many spiritual medicine's characteristics. As long as their soul remembrance was fine, their control of the fire, and the alchemy steps were fine, it wouldn't be a problem to concoct a pill. However, a pill refiner with high alchemy skills would definitely understand the characteristics of various spiritual medicine very well, because only then could they concoct higher-level pills. The first round of competition has ended. Pill refiners who have made it to the finals will rest for an hour, then the second round will begin. The rest of the pill refiners, please leave. At this time, the top 300 pill refiners in the first round of the alchemy conference had been ranked. On one side of the alchemy plaza, there were 3 enormous stone pillars. On the first stone pillar, there were many names displayed in an array. Among them, first place was naturally Tang Ao. Behind Tang Ao's name was the number 81, indicating that Tang Ao had identified 81 spiritual medicines in this round. Behind Tang Ao was Lin Fan. Lin Fan had identified a total of 79 herbs, one more than Wang Kuan, who was ranked third. After Wang Kuan was the girl called Ning Huanhuan. She had identified a total of 71 medicinal herbs. Behind her, there were nearly 100 pill refiners who had identified 71 spiritual medicines. However, they were ranked according to the time they used. Tang Ao took a look. In this alchemy conference, one had to be able to identify at least 68 types of spirit herbs in order to be on the list. This was because at the end of the first stone pillar, there were about 30 alchemists who had all identified 68 types of spirit herbs. Tang Ao felt that after this, there would definitely be many other alchemists who had identified so many spiritual medicines. However, because they had taken too long, they had already been eliminated in the first round of the test. After the list came out, everyone was discussing it. Originally, Wang Kuan had been regarded by everyone as the top ranker of this year's Alchemy Conference's 3 lists. But now, in just the first round, Wang Kuan was only ranked third. This caused many of Wang Kuan's supporters to feel somewhat disappointed. When Tang Ao saw this list, some alchemists also came over to congratulate Tang Ao. Obviously, they wanted to befriend him. Tang Ao did not reject any of these alchemists. He simply exchanged a few words with them. There were people who cheered, and naturally, there were people who belittled him. Just as Tang Ao was about to return to the high platform of the alchemy conference, Wang Kuan came over to Tang Ao's side. Wang Kuan did not look at Tang Ao. Instead, he said to himself, "For an alchemist, an understanding of spirit herbs is important. However, what kind of spirit herbs one is able to refine is a direct display of an alchemist's ability. Unfortunately, the next 2 rounds are about refining spirit herbs. They are not small tricks like identifying spirit herbs." Wang Kuan's voice was not soft. The alchemists around Tang Ao could understand him. After hearing Wang Kuan's words, everyone understood that Wang Kuan hated Tang Ao for stealing his limelight in the first round. He was prepared to teach Tang Ao a lesson in the second and third rounds. However, after Wang Kuan finished speaking, Tang Ao only yawned nonchalantly. Then, he continued walking towards the high platform. Chapter 1430. 1 hour passed very quickly. During this 1 hour, the number of cultivators who came to watch did not decrease. Instead, there were many people who had received news of this alchemy convention. Some alchemists had identified all the herbs and rushed over to watch. The scene was already packed. At this moment, Tang Ao was sitting next to the 520 pill furnace and adjusting his breathing. Occasionally, soul remembrance would sweep over Tang Ao. This caused Tang Ao to bitterly laugh. Tang Ao didn't think that in the first round of competition, identifying all the spirit ingredients correctly would cause such a huge impact. However, Tang Ao didn't mind it too much. Tang Ao always did things according to his nature. He did whatever he wanted to do. If he changed his mind because of outside interference, Tang Ao would definitely feel that his thoughts weren't smooth. Perhaps Pill Alliance's people noticed that too many people were too interested in Tang Ao, so they kept using soul remembrance to scan Tang Ao. Therefore, Pill Alliance opened up the barrier around the pill concoction stage again. This barrier had been set up for a long time. Originally, because the spectators could see more clearly, the barrier hadn't been opened in the past few pill concoction conferences. However, because of Tang Ao's sudden appearance in this year's pill concoction conference, the spectators' emotions were too high. Therefore, Pill Alliance's person in charge could only temporarily decide to open up the barrier around the pill concoction stage again. After the barrier was opened, when the spectators' soul remembrance swept over the pill concoction stage, it was immediately blocked by the pill concoction stage. A few martial artists relied on their high cultivation to forcefully break through the pill concoction stage's barrier. However, without exception, they were all beaten back by the barrier. Tang Ao's soul remembrance swept around. Tang Ao found that this barrier wasn't very strong, but its design was very ingenious. This was because this barrier was created by overlaying 9 basic formations. Tang Ao estimated that if one didn't understand formations, even a half-step origin realm martial artist like Xiao Zhen probably wouldn't be able to break through with brute force. As for using soul remembrance to pierce through, Tang Ao felt that if he couldn't do it, no one else here could. The second round of the competition is to use the spirit grass and pill furnaces provided by the Dan Alliance to refine pills. This round of the competition can only use the Dan fire or the earth fire provided by the Dan Alliance. No other flames are allowed. On the high platform, after Xiao Zhen gave a simple explanation, the maids standing at the side came to the side of the alchemist. Next to Tang Ao was a young girl with a sweet smile. Her voice was very pleasant to the ears, making people feel very comfortable. Alchemist Tang Ao, this is the Dan Alliance's list of spirit grasses. May I ask what kind of pill you want to refine? The young girl said as she handed a jade slip to Tang Ao. Tang Ao scanned the jade slip with his soul remembrance, and was immediately shocked by the Pill Alliance's spirit herb collection. On this jade slip, the Elixir Alliance's spirit grasses were categorized according to spirit grasses of 1 to 9 stars and unknown spirit grasses. Tang Ao understood spirit grasses of 1 to 9 stars, but Tang Ao didn't know what spirit grasses of unknown spirit grasses were. Out of curiosity, Tang Ao looked at the spirit grasses of unknown spirit grasses. Seeing the spirit grasses of unknown spirit grasses, Tang Ao jumped in shock. The so-called spirit grasses of 1 to 9 stars were actually all first-rank spirit grasses. Because their ranks were too low, Tang Ao wasn't very interested. However, this spirit grasses of unknown spirit grasses was not normal. Tang Ao saw many 4th and 5th rank high-level spirit grasses in this column. Tang Ao even saw a few immortal quality spirit grasses. Chapter 1431. Compared to the black-yellow continent, the flying star continent's environment wasn't just a tiny bit worse. There wasn't even spiritual energy, only very low-level primordial chi. Even the primordial chi was very thin. On the flying star continent, many places didn't even have primordial chi. Thus, Tang Ao really didn't understand how the flying star continent could have so many high-level spirit herbs, and even immortal spirit herbs, in such a situation. However, Tang Ao didn't dare to pick spirit herbs from unknown spirit herbs to concoct pills in this alchemy conference. Right now, Tang Ao had enough things to do. Tang Ao really didn't want to invite a rebuff. According to Tang Ao's original plan, Tang Ao was going to concoct a 7-star pill, but now, Tang Ao was a bit hesitant. Was he going to concoct a 7-star pill, an 8-star pill, or even a 9-star pill? The reason he had so many concerns was that Tang Ao's cultivation was still too low. If Tang Ao and Xiaojin's cultivation were half a step into the origin martial realm, then Tang Ao would naturally be able to do whatever he wanted. Sadly, Tang Ao was still very far from the half step into the origin martial realm. Tang Ao's current cultivation was still at the peak of the 5th level of the body refinement realm. As long as he had enough essence cultivating pills, Tang Ao was confident he could raise his cultivation to the 9th level of the body refinement realm in a short amount of time. However, up until now, Tang Ao still didn't have a single essence cultivating pill. Previously, he wanted to go to the Rosy Cloud Pill Pavilion to exchange for some essence cultivating pills, but he ended up being rejected. This made Tang Ao a bit depressed. So now, Tang Ao was considering whether he should use this alchemy conference to shock the world and make a name for himself. That way, he shouldn't lack essence cultivating pills. Although the essence cultivating pills in the Hidden Dragon Cave were precious, a high-level alchemist was clearly even rarer. Although the outside world knew that the Alliance Master and 3 Vice Alliance Masters of the Alchemy Alliance were all 9-star alchemists, everyone understood that the Alliance Master of the Alchemy Alliance, Lin Ruchang, would never personally concoct alchemical pills, and the other 3 Vice Alliance Masters of the Alchemy Alliance were not people that just anyone could invite. In this way, when they wanted to refine some high-level pills, most martial artists could only settle for second best and seek the help of a slightly weaker alchemist. Most of the time, these alchemists could also refine pills, but the quality of the pills could not be praised. After pondering for a moment, Tang Ao decided to refine a 9-star medicinal pill, be it if Tang Ao wanted to enter the Evergreen Valley to explore, or if he wanted to leave the crypt of the subduing dragon to save Murong Xian and Chu Xuahan. He needed strength. Tang Ao's current strength was obviously not enough, so raising his cultivation was an urgent matter for Tang Ao. If he wanted to raise his cultivation, the most direct and effective way was to consume large amounts of essence cultivating pills to absorb and refine essence chi. To other martial artists, consuming large amounts of essence cultivating pills in one go was a wasteful and dangerous action, because after the powerful essence chi contained in the essence cultivating pills dissipated, it could very possibly cause the martial artist to explode. But that was only the case for other martial artists. The essence chi of the essence cultivating pills, to Tang Ao who possessed a spiritual si, was not even considered a drop in the bucket. But what made Tang Ao speechless was that this drop in the bucket was still very difficult to obtain. After pondering for a moment, Tang Ao decided to refine a 9-star medicinal pill this time. To quickly obtain essence-cultivating pills, the simplest and crudest way was to prove that he was a top-notch alchemist. When an alchemist refined pills, they would prepare 2 sets of medicinal ingredients. After the pill was formed, the alchemist would take 30% or even 50% of the medicinal pills. With Tang Ao's alchemy level, the success rate of refining a high-grade essence-cultivating pill or even a superior-grade essence-cultivating pill was basically 100%. Chapter 1432. Right now, Tang Ao had thoughts of joining the Dan Alliance. Not to mention other things, the Vice Alliance Master in front of him, Xiao Zhen, was a person half a step into the Origin Realm. With that strength, he could absolutely do whatever he wanted in the dragon-subduing crypt. There was also the long-bearded alchemist who was in charge of judging the first round. He was also an expert at the peak of the 9th level of the body refining realm. His aura was extremely restrained. Clearly, he had been at the peak of the 9th level of the body refining realm for a very long time. He only lacked an opportunity to break into the true Origin realm. Other than those 2 people, there was also the mysterious Alliance Master of the Dan Alliance. In Tang Ao's thoughts, even if the Alliance Master of the Dan Alliance wasn't in the Origin realm, he would at least be like the Vice Alliance Master, Xiao Zhen, a martial artist half a step into the Origin realm. That way, the Dan Alliance's strength would not be inferior to the 8 Overlord-level powers that ruled the Flying Star continent. Also, that was only the Dan Alliance's strength on the surface. One had to know that behind every powerful alchemist, there were countless terrifying experts following. Thinking about that, Tang Ao decided to use the pill concocting competition to win the favor of the Dan Alliance. Since the Dan Alliance was an alliance formed by alchemists, Tang Ao believed that there was no reason for the Dan Alliance to reject a strong alchemist joining. Alchemist Tang Ao, you still haven't picked your ingredients? The second round is about to start. Seeing that Tang Ao didn't say what ingredients he needed, the servant in charge of bringing the ingredients to Tang Ao reminded him in a low voice. Tang Ao also came back to his senses at that time and immediately said, "Give me a portion of the spirit grass for the Diamond Strength Pill." The Diamond Strength Pill was a type of enhancement-type pill that reached 9 stars. After consuming it, the thick pill energy would stimulate the potential of the martial artist's body. In a short period of time, the martial artist's power, speed, and explosive power would all receive a terrifying increase. However, such a pill naturally had side effects. It was that, after 3 days, the martial artist would not be able to revolve their origin energy in their body, and they would not be able to move their body. Although the side effects sounded a bit scary, the Diamond Strength Pill was still a pill that countless martial artists yearned for. In the cultivation of the martial path, situations of life and death often happened. In those situations, consuming the Diamond Strength Pill would increase the chances of victory by at least 30%. Compared to being able to survive, the side effects of the Strength Vajra Pill were insignificant. Tang Ao had concocted a similar elixir back in the Black-Yellow continent. However, that was a 6th-grade elixir, the minor Tiangang elixir, which was of a much higher grade than this strength diamond elixir. However, after Tang Ao finished speaking, the maid was a little confused. Tang Ao couldn't help but ask with a smile, "What's wrong? We can't refine this pill in the second round?" Hearing Tang Ao's question, the maidservant said timidly, "No, it's just that in order to concoct pills of 7 stars and above, the alchemist needs to produce the corresponding identity jade token." This female attendant had been in the Alchemy Alliance for a long time, and this female attendant knew all 7-star alchemists and above. Thus, she knew that Tang Ao should not be a 7-star alchemist. I see. At this moment, Tang Ao was in a bit of a dilemma. Putting aside a mere 7-star alchemist, Tang Ao's level of alchemy was something that even those so-called peak stage 9-star alchemists could not compare to. However, right now, Tang Ao really did not have this so-called identity jade token. This time, Tang Ao had come to participate in the alchemy conference to prepare to verify his identity as an alchemist. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.